and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. President Trump currently speaking at the United Nations General Assembly. He's touching on multiple topics, including the war in Gaza.
As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities.
We'll continue to monitor his statements and provide updates. Here in Utah, a member of the Smithfield City Council has resigned after a heated exchange with local police was caught on video. This happened outside Councilmember Ted Stokes' home on August 3rd. In the video obtained by the Herald-Journal, Stokes is seen speaking on the phone with Smithfield City Manager Justin Lewis, criticizing how he claims the two officers approached him.
I approached him to talk to him. He says, you need to back up off of me. Back up off of me. I'm like, I'm standing here talking to you with a Sharpie in my hand. You think I'm going to hurt you? These guys are so untrained, Justin. It blows my mind.
Stokes is also heard in the video threatening to defund the local police department. The city council announced his resignation on social media. Your money at this moment, the Dow continues its rise. It's up 188 points today to 46,570. Coming up, we've still got slow traffic out there in several spots, including both sides of I-15 in spots in the Salt Lake Valley. Traffic and weather together is next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you want to walk, play pickleball, and enjoy other fun activities to stay healthy, but can't because you're in pain? Hi, this is Mike, and the Good Feet store wants to help you get out of pain.
I just had difficulty walking when I had the pain. I tried them on in the store, and my foot felt so much better.
Are you buying new shoes and inserts with little or no relief?
I tried all kinds of shoes. It was the arch supports that made the difference from the Good Feet store.
Don't let foot, knee, or back pain get in the way of you staying healthy and having fun.
Thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm bowling 3 nights a week, pain-free.
Get back to doing what you love. At the Good Feet store, we'll personally fit you with high-quality arch supports to maximize your comfort. Stop in the Good Feet store or book your free fitting at goodfeet.com. Walk-ins are always welcome. Make this the year you get active and healthy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Traffic and weather together are brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Heather Kelly.
We've got delays eastbound I-80 between 2300 East and the mouth of Parley's Canyon. It's due to, it's either a disabled vehicle or a crash right before you get to the ramps that would take you to Foothill Drive. Now, they have pulled over to the right shoulder, but there's a lot of flashing lights there. So that's what's causing the slowdowns trying to get into Parley's Canyon. Northbound I-15 still pretty slow, but it's starting to break up a bit between Timpanogos Highway and about 45th South in Murray. And you're still crawling along trying to get out of Tooele County, SR 36 eastbound I-80 heading over to Lake Point. The crash southbound I-15 in Ogden just cleared, and the delays there have also cleared out. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, endless possibilities with 3 locations. Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, and Performance Toyota, where excellence is standard. Start your search at performancebountiful.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, the rain gone for now. Today's going to be sunny with highs in the mid-70s. It will warm up, though, the rest of the week with highs in the 80s. Right now, it is sunny and 55 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
And welcome to another edition of Inside Sources. I'm Greg Skordas alongside Holly Richardson. And yesterday, as we were beginning our show, the legislature was also beginning the first in a couple of public hearings to talk about the redistricting process that the Third District Court has ordered them to do. It started a little rocky. Senator Scott Sandell of Tremont started by saying this: we want to make sure that you understand that we are doing this in compliance with the court's orders and under protest.
I know.
Not the best way to start. And then, of course, the director of Better Boundaries said this. She was concerned that they were going to, quote, cut at the heart of Proposition 4. So both sides are dug in a little bit, not necessarily giving us room for optimism. But the legislature, to their credit, Holly, met. They proposed 5 maps.
Yeah.
And they are meeting again, sounds like tomorrow.
Tomorrow for the same type of thing, right? So it's a legislative meeting. They will have the ability for people there to comment on maps. And then on Thursday, they will tell everyone which one map they have chosen. And then that will open up a 10-day public comment period.
So there are a lot of parameters to this, beginning with we have a state that has 3.2 million people. So if you divide that 4 ways, you have districts that should have around 817,000 ish people, right? So Salt Lake County has 1.1 million. So you can't have Salt Lake County as a district. That goes without saying. The Better Boundaries Commission and the Citizen Initiative also prioritized municipalities over counties. In other words, if a city overlaps 2 counties, we would want to have that city. We would be we would prefer to have that city in a district rather than split it up.
Right.
And I didn't realize this. I couldn't think of any cities that bordered counties, but apparently there are 4: Bluffdale, Draper, which both border South Lake and Utah counties.
That's right.
Park City, which I think must go into Wasatch County.
Yeah.
And then Santaquin, which I am guessing goes into Juab County.
Yep,
Because we always
that's
think of those as primarily within the Salt Lake Summit and Utah counties. Anyway, the public hearings went well, other than sort of starting off a little slow. And the legislature proposed their 5 maps. Now, tomorrow they will meet again at 11 o'clock. They have a public hearing. They will then issue what they will propose as their final map on September 25th,
right,
which is
Thursday.
Yep. There's a public hearing or public comment period for 10 days going to October 5th. Then the legislature will have a special session on October 6th and submit its map to the judge.
Right.
Citizens, I mean, anyone can submit a map.
And I expect that the Better Boundaries people will submit maps that they had last time. But look, you said it went well. I think that depends on who you're asking,
Sure.
right? Because not only did they say that they're meeting under protest, and they proposed 5 maps. At least they're talking about 5 different maps to look at, and 3 of them basically are pizza slices and 2 are donut holes. So as they're looking at those, they also had a proposal for a new bill, which would require a new, quote, partisan bias test for judges to evaluate the congressional maps. What's interesting about this is this partisan bias test is supposed to determine congressional symmetry and whether each party is represented fairly. And some of the things that I've read online are saying if you have a state with fewer than 9 congressional districts, it's notoriously unreliable to actually create fair districts. And we only have 4.
Right, that's understandable because if you think about no matter how you divide your state, and in Utah, let's say we're 30% Democrat and maybe 55% Republican.
Right. So
or
if
something
you're
like that.
if you're splitting up each district so that each district only has 30% Democrats, I think then you're getting to the heart of the lawsuit that was originally filed, right? Well, even further back than that, you get back to Proposition 4, which said, look, we need to have these parameters, and that includes not taking into account the partisan distribution.
Right. So you're right. So if Utah, for some reason, maybe a million years from now, has 10 districts, you would expect there to be maybe a 6-4 or 7-3 Republican Democrat. But with four only. And you look at what's happening in Texas, where they've sort of redistricted so that the Democrats don't have much of a chance in any district, or maybe just shoveling all the Democrats into a few districts so they just have fewer representatives. But let's face it, and I've talked to several Republican legislators, and they are of the mind, correctly, I think, that Utah's predominant Republican, that we're just a Republican state, and therefore we should be able to have a Republican representative legislature. Our senators, our congresspeople should be largely Republican, and for the last so many years they have been. Better Boundaries in the Citizen Initiative in 2018, ballot initiative said, let's at least draw it up so there's some competitive district, or at least one competitive district. I don't know how this is going to shake out, but I would say this, maybe you disagree a little bit. The 5 maps that the legislature is now considering are certainly more consistent with the goals of Better Boundaries than the map that is currently in place, which divides Salt Lake County 4 ways.
Right. I think in Midvale, is where it meets.
Right,
is that right?
Yeah, about 33rd South, 7th East, you can be in 4 districts. Well, it's not that easy. But yeah, these maps divide Salt Lake. All of the maps divide Salt Lake 2 ways, some east-west, some north-south. But at least they recognize that you can't have Salt Lake County divided 4 ways.
Right. So I need to go back to this proposed bill, this legislation that Senator Brady Brammer is proposing is really talking about having this be part of the special election on October 6th. And what this would do is say it meets the definition in Proposition 4, although some would disagree, but of not being too partisan by looking at the margins of victory for Republicans in 3 previous elections for the statewide offices. President, so president, that's not statewide, that's national. Governor, attorney general, auditor, and treasurer. And if the maps would be considered not biased as long as the advantage for Republicans isn't greater than the margin of the GOP victories in those races. So in my view, this is a way to say we think this might technically meet the letter of the law, but I'm not sure it meets the spirit of the law.
So is what he's proposing, they're having a special session on October 6th. Would that, I'm trying to read between the lines, would if they meet and they pass this bill, would that preempt what they're doing right now?
If they meet and they pass this bill, it means the map that they submit, that the judge who is going to look at the map has to say, as long as it's within a 30-point swing towards the Republicans, it meets this partisan symmetry that would be new law passed in a special session on October 6th.
Which effectively is retroactive
It
in
basically,
this particular...
It basically gets what the lawsuit was trying to accomplish,
right.
I think.
Interesting. I mean, the legislature is doing, and I don't know, Mike is right in some respects. The legislature is doing what they can to say, look, we are such a hugely Republican state, we ought to be able to district ourselves so that our representatives reflect that.
Look, I just have to finish with this.
Sure.
So Representative Doug Owens, who's one of the 2 Democrats on the 10-member committee, said, are you concerned about the optics of that? And Senator Brammer says, the court says follow Prop 4, and the first thing out of the chute, we're narrowing Prop 4.
Yeah, well, Proposition 4 ballot initiative and the legislative process continues tomorrow with public hearings, 10 days of public comment, special session October 6th, and the final map will be chosen it has to be submitted to the lieutenant governors by November 10th.
Yep, that's right. So when we come back, Turning Point USA is continuing their American Comeback Tour. It's going to include a stop up in Logan at Utah State University on September 30th, and well-known politicians are going to be speaking there. KSL News Radio Adam Small will have the latest on how Charlie Kirk's tour will continue after his death when we come back after the break.
I'm Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. One of our values is to do only what is good for our customers in the long term. Our goal is to have you as a happy Arctic Spa customer even 10 years down the road and longer. This means that we only sell and service Arctic Spas. We are built for the long term because we cut your electric bill in half compared to other brands. We do multi-level seating, armrests, adjustable pillows, and 100% massaging jets to make it more comfortable, so you will continue to enjoy it over the long term. The Arctic Spa has automatic saltwater care and automatic pH control. Less worry means you will enjoy it more over the long term. Focusing on Arctic Spa customers gives you a better experience with our knowledge, training, parts, and accessories that you need for the long term. You will enjoy your Arctic Spa longer, making us the least expensive option over the long run. When you're looking for a long-term hot tub with service for the long term, check us out at ArcticSpasUtah.com, covering all of Utah with stores in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. Arctic Spa, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate, and the best long-term choice for you.
There's no better place to fall in love with fall than Logan, Utah. Honestly, it's kind of hard to imagine fall right now because it's been so blasted hot this summer. But I promise Logan is the place for cooler temperatures and even cooler events. You absolutely have to come to the Center Street Giant Pumpkin Festival September 27th. These ain't your mama's pumpkins, although I don't really know what that means. But anyway, last year, the record-breaking gourd tipped in at over 2,100 pounds. That's more than 3 grand pianos. Professional pumpkin carvers, family scavenger hunt, activities for kids, live music, more than 100 vendors, and fantastic fall fun. Coming up, we've got the American West Heritage Center's Fall Harvest Festival, the North Logan Pumpkin Walk, 2 giant corn mazes that may or may not be haunted, concerts, historic downtown ghost tours, and more. Don't even ask me when the leaves will be turning because at this point, your guess is as good as mine. But it doesn't matter because whenever you come to Logan, it's always beautiful. Visit ExploreLogan.com to plan your autumn adventures today. ExploreLogan.com.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. I spoke with the hiring manager who told me that 3 of the 10 resumes that he had in the top listed pile were almost identical. Same wording, same experiences, same interests, but different names. The candidates had used the same AI program to modify their resume to fit the job description. It was no surprise that the AI-based hiring program labeled them as one of the top candidates. But it got worse. Other candidates had almost identical answers in the phone interviews because AI told them what they thought the employer wanted to hear. Much as we would like the computer to tell us who to hire, successful managers will still need to use the basic interpersonal skills to make the right hiring decision. If you want to know more about how to make good hiring decisions, consider an MBA at Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody. Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
Whether you park it, stripe it, or pave it, GoPave Utah has your blacktop covered at GoPaveUtah.com. Call or visit GoPaveUtah.com.
Hi, it's Tori DeVito. In every family, small conversations can make a big impact, like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic.
Your honesty about that part of your life gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted to uphold in my own life.
I wanted you to know from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs. I said it a lot, and I'm glad you took it to heart.
Talk, they hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
My name is Tom.
My name is Cindy.
We give to and volunteer with United Way at our community free health clinic.
We know our time and money are going to the right places.
We don't just wear the shirt.
We live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
and expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Charlie Kirk's organization, Turning Point USA, will begin visiting college campuses as soon as next week, and I think that their first stop on the tour will be what was already planned, the Utah State University stop. That's scheduled for a week from today, Holly, at Utah State University campus. This is part of the American Comeback Tour, and we're learning now that some local politicians will be part of that equation and will be speakers there.
Yeah, it was interesting for me to learn who those were. And so we have KSL News Radio's Adam Small in studio with us to tell us what we know about the event and who's speaking.
Yeah, so Turning Point USA, the American Comeback Tour, they're making a stop at Utah State University a week from today, so September 30th. I believe the event starts at 6:30, though I've been trying to actually lock down what building it's going to be at, and I cannot find it on Utah State's website or Turning Point USA yet, so hopefully more details to come there. But we know this is happening a week from now, and we just learned the speakers there's going to be a panel that's going to include 4 people. That includes Utah Senator Mike Lee, Governor Spencer Cox, former Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz, and then as well as Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs. So they are all going to be speaking at this event. The tour, obviously, with Charlie Kirk's murder. They've been finding fill-in panelists and speakers for all their stops. I believe they were in Minnesota yesterday, and I believe it was Michael Knowles, who's a very a lot like Charlie Kirk has a huge social media influence of conservative talking points. I believe he was there yesterday. So this entire tour, they're finding people to fill in, and these are going to be the people speaking at Utah State again: Mike Lee, Governor Cox, Jason Chaffetz, and Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs.
I'm assuming also that Erica Kirk will be there. I don't know. I haven't heard. That's Charlie's widow. She spoke at the event on Sunday at the Arizona football stadium, and I would assume that she'll at least have a presence there. We don't know. Maybe.
I don't know for sure. I know that she is listed on Turning Point USA's website as one of the fill-in speakers. So I don't know if she's planning on maybe one specific event being a panelist or if she's going to be stopping at every single event. I know she does have a very intricate involvement with them. I don't know for sure if she will be in Logan, though.
Can I ask you some questions about the style of this event? You said there's a panel, so I have never attended a Charlie Kirk event. What is this panel style discussion?
Yeah, so if it's anything how Charlie conducted his in-person events on campuses before his death, the way this works is you set your speaker. I mean, again, this was Charlie, but they're filling it in with panelists instead. You have your speaker. Was Charlie going to be these panelists? You set them in one place, and it's basically like an open mic session. People can come up to a microphone and ask, hey, how do you feel about, gang violence? How do you feel about immigration? How do you feel about where the economy is going? Like you can basically ask open-ended questions and actually have conversations. That's how Charlie Kirk would have these one-on-one peaceful debates with people. So I imagine this panel is going to have that same kind of setup. People will be able to walk up to the microphone, ask a question, and they can chime in on, hey, here's how I feel this issue is. Here's what we should be doing.
So instead of just one speaker, Charlie, now we're going to see a series of speakers.
Exactly, yeah. So it sounds like this is an opportunity where if you attend, if you can get up to the mic, I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people there, but you can get up and you have a question for Governor Cox, Senator Lee, Jason Chaffetz. You can get up there and ask them, hey, how do you feel about this particular issue? And you can talk back and forth, have that peaceful discourse.
It almost sounds a little bit more like a rally than the debate format that he had in the past. And maybe not, because you're going to have 4 speakers. And I guess if the public wants to come up and ask questions, do we want to ask one specifically to Jason Chaffetz? Do we want to ask one to Senator Lee? You know what I mean? It seemed like that would sort of disrupt the flow a little bit. And with 4 speakers, it might take up most of the time anyway. I'm sort of speaking rhetorically here, but I would assume that at least for this first one, especially in light of the fact that the murder is only within the last 2 or 3 weeks, that it might be more of a, uplifting sort of, emotional ceremony rather than a debate.
Yeah. And that actually was a good transition point there. So Deseret News actually got an interview with the COO of Turning Point Action. He told them that, so again, we know this is going to be an indoor event, but he talked about this event is going to be focused on, it's going to be very Utah-centric. How does Utah move forward, and how do Utahns and everyone collectively heal from the tragedy that took place here in our state at UVU, now just going on almost 2 weeks now. It's like, how do we How do we move forward? How do we heal? I know that is going to be a big part of it. I am just assuming that, with the way that Charlie ran his in-person events, I assume there is going to be some time for question and answer with the panelists. But I do know, based on that statement from Turning Point Action, that it is going to be very centered on how does Utah move forward? How do we heal from this?
What kind of security are we looking at?
Yeah, so actually, obviously, USU is taking every precaution after what happened. I mean, we've talked about heightened security for over a week now. So I'm looking on their website, and they've talked about how they are going to have detailed security planning, crowd safety resources, effective crowd management. I'm just going over a few of these. Close protection for the speakers. They also have crisis response coordination readiness. I imagine there's also just going to be a very heavy law enforcement presence. I'm just looking over the stuff that they listed a few days ago now, so I imagine they're making more plans as we go. But they are taking this very seriously. They put out a statement pretty much as soon as we publicly knew that Turning Point USA was going to go here. I mean, after what happened, just so recently on one of our campuses, they're not taking any chances.
So let me just do a follow-up if that's okay. Are we looking at, I know Charlie really wanted that outdoor event at UVU. Is that changing going forward?
I know, again, for this event it's indoor. I haven't looked at all the details of every event around the country, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think the indoor it's a little bit easier to secure. I imagine that would be part of it. And it's just kind of sad too, if I can just kind of editorialize for a minute. It's like Charlie loved being out. And part of the reason he loved it being outside is because more people could trickle in. They would walk through campus and they'd see, oh, what's going on? And they could come in and listen. Sure. It was kind of like that invitation aspect of the conversation. It's kind of sad to see that they have to move to that indoor conversation setup. But I would imagine that at least for this tour, I got to look at all the events and locations, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's a change they make, at least in the short term, because it's just too soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was going to ask a similar question, but indoors, at least for the first 2 or 3 or 4 events, make a little bit more sense in terms of security, and maybe they can open it up eventually. I'm trying to think of my experience at Utah State University. I mean, certainly there's the Spectrum where they play their basketball and big events that would hold what's needed here. And at Utah Valley University, I think we had a crowd of about 3,500 people, which was pretty big. I don't know that there's anything at Utah State that can hold that other than the Spectrum, which obviously can hold 2 or 3 times that. But I know I'm speculating here, and you don't know where it's going to be held, but it's a week away. You expect that they would make that selection fairly soon.
Yeah, and maybe I've just looked in the wrong places too. I mean, there's a ton of information going around from the school and Turning Point USA. There's news outlets putting stuff out there too. But I mean, the Spectrum would be a very logical place. I mean, maybe there's another building on campus that could hold that. But I think with the crowd size and the people that are expected, I think that could be a safe guess. But again, if we get more information, we'll be sure to share it. I mean, I could definitely say that. So
I have one final question in the time we have remaining. You've mentioned this tour and that it's ongoing. How long is this tour scheduled to go? Do you know?
I took a brief look at the dates. So this is actually one of the first stops. I believe they have, I want to say, one more stop this week, and then this starts their tour date next week. But I think they do a couple of tour stops per week, and it goes through November. But I think we're on the early, again, they just kicked off their first one in Minnesota yesterday. I want to say there's between about 8 and a dozen total stops around the country with all these guest speakers. Utah State, I believe, is the 3rd or 4th stop, so we're pretty early on. But again, the tour itself goes into November, the dates I looked up. So.
Wow, thank you for joining us. We appreciate that information. It's ongoing, and it's interesting to me that they're going to continue this. It doesn't sound like they really slowed down, even with what they had scheduled. So.
Right, that was KSL News Radio's Adam Small. I didn't realize they had already picked up the pace. I thought Utah State was their next after their murder.
It wasn't, right?
Yeah,
it's the second one in Utah, but they're not back to back.
Yeah. I would also expect that they may make these sort of regional, and that is when you're at Utah State, you get the Utah connection, you get Utah senator, Utah governor, former Utah legislator, and in Minnesota you may have people from there and maybe have a little bit of a local flair until they can get, their, I guess his widow, who's probably going to take the lead going forward. When we come back, yesterday President Trump linked autism to acetaminophen, the generic name for Tylenol, and proposed a treatment used to treat side effects that's been used for cancer treatments. We'll talk about what you need to know after the break.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top local story this hour. Local ABC affiliate Nexstar will keep Jimmy Kimmel Live off air. That means it will not be shown here in Utah. The show was reinstated after being taken off air for his comments about the accused killer of Charlie Kirk. We now know who will speak at Turning Point USA's event in Utah next week.
Turning Point USA resumed their American Comeback Tour in Minnesota yesterday, and in 1 week from now, they will be heading to Utah State University. The group is having guest speakers and panelists fill in at each stop of the tour, and when they come to Logan, we've learned that the panel will include Utah Senator Mike Lee, Governor Spencer Cox, former Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz, and Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs. The COO of Turning Point Action tells the Deseret News the event will be held indoors, and it will focus on where Utah goes from here and how we can heal from Charlie Kirk's death. This is the only stop the tour has planned in Utah. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Tyler Robinson has been charged in the murder of Charlie Kirk, but investigators say they are far from finished. They want to hear more about possible motives from Robinson himself. That's according to Kirk's former security director and retired FBI special agent Greg Schaefer. He tells KSL TV investigators are getting to know Robinson.
They're developing a relationship with this individual, the shooter. I mean, they're becoming friends with him, and they are treating him with kid gloves. That's how you get information.
Robinson will be back in court next week. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump will not be meeting with Democratic congressional leaders to talk about government funding. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers has the latest.
President Trump says he's not going to meet with Democratic congressional leaders because a meeting would not be productive, calling their proposals to fund the government and avert a shutdown, quote, unserious and ridiculous. The president pointing the finger at Democrats, saying the minority party will be to blame if the government shuts down. On Monday, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told me what the White House wants to see.
We want a clean funding extension to keep the government open. That's all we're advocating for.
Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Your money at this moment, the Dow up 146 points to 46,527. Coming up, enjoy the cooler weather today. It's the coolest it's going to be for the next week. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
At Peach Windows and Doors, they help homeowners stay in the homes they love while upgrading to the elegance, efficiency, and natural light of today. With hundreds of 5-star Google reviews, their clients know Peach Windows and Doors deliver what they promise.
I wanted to replace standard-size French doors with a large custom sliding door. The update required checking a weight-bearing wall. Plus, I wanted a couple of different styles of windows. The new sliding door created a much brighter and open look. Peach was so helpful along the way with recommendations and ideas, and the installers were efficient and respectful of my space. I was thrilled with Peach Windows and Doors.
Give your $1 million home the $1 million feel it deserves. Don't wait on that someday project. Visit Peach Windows and Doors Salt Lake Showroom. Schedule a free in-home visit. You can also explore at peachwindowsanddoors.com or just call them at 801-566-1255. Peach Windows and Doors, where amazing home transformations begin.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-859-3220. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 to 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-859-3220. That's 800-859-3220 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-859-3220. 800-859-3220.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Heather, what are you seeing?
Well, the delays coming out of Twilla County just refuse to go away. SR 36 is still at a crawl. We're on the 4th hour of pretty much stop-and-go traffic northbound SR 36 as you leave the Mills Junction area, that's Pole Canyon Road, all the way up to eastbound I-80. And then you have a little bit of congestion on eastbound I-80 approaching Lake Point. Now, the good news is once you get past Lake Point, you have good speeds all the way over to the airport or downtown Salt Lake City. We still have a few brake lights northbound I-15 as you come out of Utah County over the point of the mountain to about 90th South and Sandy. After that, you've got good speeds and no problems now southbound I-15 through Weber, Davis counties. Fall in Alta is here, and so is your exclusive locals offer. Snow Pine Lodge is giving Utah residents 20% off lodging. Get away from the daily hustle and enjoy mountain mornings and golden colors. Visit snowpine.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Well, the rain left us yesterday. It's going to be gone for now. Today will be sunny with highs in the mid-70s. It'll warm up the rest of the week with highs in the 80s, but no chance of rain until sometime next week, at least the forecast right now. Right now, it's sunny and 59 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources.
During what he promised to be an important announcement yesterday, President Donald Trump linked autism to the use of acetaminophen during pregnancy. The Trump administration is now advising doctors to prescribe Tylenol to pregnant women, which the primary ingredient is acetaminophen, to pregnant women only in cases where a high fever could pose a risk to the baby. The president drawing a link between the use of the active ingredient in Tylenol, acetaminophen, and autism in children, even though no study has yet to find a causal connection. Here's President Trump at the press conference yesterday.
Effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism.
He said that pregnant women should only be urged to take Tylenol for medical issues like extreme fever.
It's a small number of cases, I think. But if you can't tough it out, if you can't do it, that's what you're going to have to do. You'll take a Tylenol, but it'll be very sparingly.
There's a couple of things.
Sorry, Holly.
So first of all, I think you learn this relatively early on, maybe even in high school, that correlation does not equal causation, right? So yes, there has been an increase in the diagnoses of autism, but we talked yesterday that autism as a separate diagnosis was first diagnosed in 1911. Tylenol didn't come on the scene until 1955. And in recent years, the use of Tylenol has actually decreased, right? So first of all, you have to be careful with correlation and causation. And then second of all, telling women they just need to tough it out is, first of all, offensive. But second of all, saying, if you can't tough it out, then take a single Tylenol. But we're talking about the risk to the baby of a mom having a high fever. It can cause really significant damage if mom has a high fever, especially over an extended period of time.
And alternatives to Tylenol, which would include aspirin and Motrin,
ibuprofen,
have bleeding risk.
They do. They
which
do.
Tylenol limits.
So we have with us in studio Lois Collins from the Deseret News. She wrote about this issue for today's paper, maybe yesterday's. I read it this morning. But really, Lois, I wonder if you could just break it down, what we're seeing on both sides, right? Because I know there was a pretty strong response from the medical community as well.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting question because there was a study that was done at Harvard and Mount Sinai that did find some association, and they were careful to say they couldn't find causation in that, but they did find some association. And that's kind of what this has been pinned on, is a single study that found that. There was another study that was conducted that was between Sweden and the United States. It was a big international study with tons of pregnancies involved that looked like it might have a tiny bit of an increase, but when they controlled for siblings, it turned out there wasn't an increase. It was, as the scientists said, flatlined. So I think there's just so much confusion right now about what to believe. And, beforehand, I had a couple of experts who said to me, well, but I thought that we were told by the same administration that it was certain vaccines. Mm-hmm. And maybe he'll tie that in. And in fact, that was tied in. They think that it's a complex combination of things that involves vaccines and it involves acetaminophen. And so avoid everything and you won't have these complications. But the problem is that Tylenol or acetaminophen, Tylenol is the branded name, but there are other products that contain acetaminophen as well. So you have to look at all the labels on drugs anyway. But the problem is that's the only thing that's deemed safe during pregnancy for pain or for fever. If you take ibuprofen or you take aspirin, you increase the risk of some birth defects and some other complications. So, the other thing is that it's apples to oranges, according to another researcher that I talked to, because pregnant women who need Tylenol are usually sicker or they have something going on, perhaps an infection. And so what do you do with that, and what's the effect of not treating that on the baby? Right. It's all very confusing.
I heard an analogy about what Holly addressed at the outset, which is the difference between correlation and causation. And the analogy I heard was in the summer it gets a lot hotter, and in the summer there's a lot more gang violence. But you can't equate heat to gang violence. They both occur simultaneously, but we don't necessarily associate one with the other. And the studies in this what we're talking about here, Lois, haven't really confirmed that in fact acetaminophen creates this risk. And in fact, I think the CDC spoke out later and said, "Wait a minute, we're not taking quite as strong a stance as the president
Correct.
did."
And even RFK Jr. kind of stepped back a little bit and said it's a potential issue. And the makers of Tylenol, Kenvue, are like, hey, show us the science behind this. We have not seen any science that shows any kind of causation. I don't think anyone has seen a causation study. So it's really confusing.
So one of the things that you point out in your article is there's a possible treatment. It's leucovorin. It's a folate. So basically in the B6 category. This one's B9, I think.
It's B9, yeah.
And we do know that there are some folates, like folic acid. The taking of folic acid before you get pregnant can decrease the chance that your baby might have a neural tube defect like spina bifida.
Exactly, yeah.
It doesn't eliminate it completely, but we know that there can be something there, right? So it could be that this treatment might work symptomatically on some kids, but it seems to me like they were kind of pushing this pretty hard yesterday.
If you remember during COVID, there were a couple of cures that were pushed pretty hard that turned out not to be cures exactly or treatments. Right, exactly. So part of this that's interesting in pushing it so hard is that there is some hope, but it's even the scientists themselves say it's a fragile hope. We don't know. There were a couple of cases in a small clinical trial where children who were nonverbal had this, and the belief is that it's because folate has trouble crossing the brain barrier sometimes, so you don't get it into your brain in some people the way you should. In a couple of cases, within a few weeks of taking this particular medicine, in fact, children could speak. It did make some difference. I don't think we can discount it completely, but I don't think that we should all run out and get this for the people in our lives who have autism either. And the Autism Science Foundation said, we're watching it with interest, but it needs controlled studies. It needs lots of research before we're ready to say this is the treatment for autism.
Right. I mean, if you have a study with 2 people, that's pretty much anecdotal, right?
Yeah, and it was more than that, but it was a few people that had the effect.
Right. Yeah, so very, very small. It has to be something you can go and replicate. So we actually, we already are to our break. Oh my gosh. So stay with us through the break, and we'll come back and continue our really fascinating conversation.
Hi, friends. Dan, the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. In celebration of over 32 years of serving humans in Utah with their computer and tech needs, we've slashed our prices. And these are the new 2025 models. Here's the deal. You can get our new 2025 S1 desktop with a blazing Ryzen 5 processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing fast storage on this promotion. We also have our new 2025 SM3 laptop with the Intel i5 processor, 16 gigs, and over a terabyte of storage for $999. You can take one home today for $999. And you also get the peace of mind of our lifetime service warranty. We also have 12 months special financing available, and they start as low as $29 a month. But hurry in, because supplies are limited. Because at PC Laptops, we love you. PCLaptops.com. Take home a blazing fast 2025 model desktop or laptop for $999 at PCLaptops.com.
Man, I want to tell people how they can look and feel 10 years younger, because it's something you and I already know.
We lost weight with the SOTA weight loss program. I lost 34 pounds, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
And I do feel younger. I have more energy, all because I worked through this wonderful program, SOTA weight loss.
And I let go of 70 pounds of fat weight over 5 months, and I actually did get comments, you look incredibly younger. It really felt good.
And I love the example I set for my kids to show them, look, we can celebrate things without having to eat stuff that's bad for our bodies.
And what helps is the accountability. And right now, this is the best way to do it. SOTA's bringing back their most popular offer of the season. Join now, and your partner joins for free in the Partner Program.
So you and your spouse, or you and your best friend, get going with SOTA weight loss.
They're the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and client results. You can find out by going to their website, SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Because SOTA is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services. And if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Saving for retirement was tough enough for us.
Yes, and navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we take a disciplined approach with your investments.
Tell us more about that.
We take an active approach to money management, positioning your portfolio for opportunities we see ahead.
So all your clients get the same portfolio?
No, we tailor your portfolio to your individual goals and needs.
What about communication? We don't like being left in the dark.
We check in regularly to keep you informed on the markets and your portfolio.
Which means you'll help us stay on track.
Yes, our goal is your comfortable retirement. And as a fiduciary, we always put your interests first, because we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Come on, the meeting's already started.
Sometimes it's important.
Last call, boarding gate number 9.
Sometimes it's urgent.
Trip through alarm.
Sometimes it's vital. Hospital treatment within 1 hour of a stroke can prevent lifelong disability. If you notice someone experiencing sudden weakness on one side or having a problem speaking, walking, or seeing, call 911 fast. Stroke. Know the signs. Act in time. A message from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke.
The new Inside Sources.
Following up on our discussion about the link between autism and the drug acetaminophen and the statement that President Trump made yesterday advising doctors and advising pregnant women not to take the drug during pregnancy because of that link. And ABC's News chief medical correspondent Dr. Tara Narula spoke this morning on Good Morning America.
There is not one single cause for autism. We know that it is a complex disorder characterized by hundreds of genes, different environmental influences, and part of the reason why we have seen these rising numbers that President Trump alluded to is because we are screening more, is because we changed the diagnostic criteria.
So that's, it's one of the things that is interesting about this. And again, we have Lois Collins in studio with us, reporter with the Deseret News, to talk to us about her investigation and reporting on this news conference yesterday. Share with us some of the things that you were told or that you learned about potential causes of autism.
Genetics is believed to be a big risk. Environment is believed to be a risk, but nobody can say it's this or it's that. Most people believe that it's a combination. But the numbers have increased exponentially, and I would make it clear that most people believe the number of diagnoses has increased, not necessarily how many actual cases there are. It used to not be thoroughly diagnosed, and now we have an autism spectrum.
Right.
So it could be from mild to severe, and it's now believed that it's about 1 in 31, but they do think that it's mostly diagnosis.
It also was surprising, Lois, that the president would come out with such a broad stroke statement that you would expect to come from the medical community. And even the medical community is seemingly backing off a little bit from this, but he said, in no uncertain terms, don't take Tylenol or don't prescribe Tylenol.
Yeah, he said it multiple times.
Yeah, that had to surprise a lot of people.
Well, even in the one study that they cited from Mount Sinai and Harvard that found a somewhat of a link, they said, don't take it unless you have a high fever or unless you have a medical condition that really requires it. But they didn't say don't take it.
Right. And tell me, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, is ACOG. What was their statement?
So what they said is that Tylenol is the one thing, acetaminophen is the one thing that pregnant women who need it can take. And if you have a severe fever, if you have an infection or something, it needs to be treated. And so the risk of not treating whatever's underlying it that makes a woman sick, that makes her need these over-the-counter medications, that has to be dealt with because that also has some sort of potential to really harm a child.
And you have to expect that the makers of Tylenol have come out pretty aggressively and said, wait a minute, don't, trust your doctor, trust the current studies, don't necessarily jump to the gun because this has to be devastating to that product.
It's my understanding that their stock plunged a bit yesterday on the news. They have said that they expect to be sued by people who have children that have autism. And maybe the lawsuits will be a good thing. Maybe during discovery we'll get a really good look at the science and we'll know what the truth is of this. But it's got to be really kind of scary for them. And let's face it, those drugs we're talking about during pregnancy, but acetaminophen has many uses. So it's not just during pregnancy.
Right. It's one of the medications that people can take if you can't take NSAIDs, right? So if you've got trouble with ulcers or some other issue, right, that acetaminophen is something that has been considered safe. It's over the counter. A doctor can recommend it, but anybody can go down to the store and buy the generic version, which is acetaminophen, or the branded version, which is Tylenol.
Correct. And besides that, there are some known risks with it. If you have liver problems, if you take too much, you will have liver problems. Sure. So it's just like ibuprofen with kidneys. Right. You have to be careful and you don't overdo. But it's been around for a really long time.
Dr. Richard Ferguson, president of the Black Physicians of Utah, joined Midday with Maria Chaleos yesterday and spoke about why Tylenol and acetaminophen, how it's used and how it works in the body.
They should be using Tylenol. Now, I think that probably the best way to think about this is let's just take a step back and say, why is Tylenol being used? Well, we use Tylenol to treat pain and fever. And even go a little bit granular here, if you give me a second, acetaminophen or Tylenol, it blocks a particular enzyme in our body that is in our brain and our spinal cord. And this enzyme produces another chemical called prostaglandins. And these chemicals, when they're released, when this enzyme is activated, it produces this chemical, prostaglandin, that causes the increase in pain and body temperature. And all that acetaminophen does, it blocks this ability of this enzyme to produce more of that factor, prostaglandin, to cause us to have lower pain and fever. So we have to remember, we're taking it for pain and fever. That's the indication. So, and it's one of the safest medications that's actually out there and has been studied. I think a lot of people don't, realize that there's not a lot of pregnant women raising their hand to be part of a double-blind, randomized controlled trial when their future child is at risk. But this is one of the medications that has been studied intently for some time.
So Lois mentioned it already, right? And Dr. Ferguson pointed out that not only are pregnant women not volunteering for these double-blind studies, right, because you may end up in the placebo group, right, or there may be harms caused for a new medication. So when scientists are looking at medications and what may or may not work, it's almost completely contraindicated to even have a pregnant woman in your study because of the potential risk to the baby. So saying we think if you take XYZ while you're pregnant, you could potentially prevent this, there have to be a lot of trials before you get to the pregnant women to even talk about that. But I wanted to say that Lois mentioned that the manufacturer of Tylenol is expecting an increase in lawsuits. And I wanted to ask you if Tylenol's manufacturer has any legal recourse for being thrown under the bus here.
Well, at some point, if they can follow up with studies that prove that what was said is incorrect, they could. I mean, right now, their back is against the wall a little bit, and they're going to face lawsuits of their own from people who took Tylenol and had children that may have been on the spectrum and who will say, wait a minute, this was a causation that we should have known about. And I would expect that there's been no studies reasonable that Tylenol or the manufacturers of Tylenol have had in their pocket to say, wait a minute, we shouldn't be producing this right now because we don't have valid studies. Your question is, do they have a remedy? It's hard to sue the government. We have what we call governmental immunity, and Trump has a high level of immunity. The Supreme Court's granted him over the years. So, he says what he did based on the evidence that he had. I don't know that there's going to be much of a lawsuit against the federal government by Tylenol if and when they are proven to be a legitimate drug, and if it's proven, which it may or may not be, that they're not a source of problems with respect to pregnancies resulting in autism.
So Lois, one final quick question. What was your big takeaway that pregnant women should know?
Well, I think the big takeaway is that you have to be careful about what you take during pregnancy. You have to be judicious. But I also think, I also believe that you talk to your doctor, and if your doctor, who is more involved with you and with your health care, says you should take Tylenol. If you have a high fever, then you probably should take Tylenol if you have a high fever.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for joining us in studio. And we're just going to let our listeners know that we will have a doctor from Huntsman Mental Health Institute to talk more about autism at 11:35. So just stay with us. That's about an hour and a half from now.
That's what you were trying to tell me.
No,
you were like
fine.
Signaling me, and I'm like, what is Holly trying to tell me? So anyway.
We do not know sign language, and we should.
We're getting there. I would also say this, that there's probably reason to at least hesitate with respect to the second drug that they've talked about as a potential cure. It may have some great prospects. It may be something that turns out quite well. I guess I'm a former engineer, scientist. I sort of trust the science a little bit, and you can go both ways. But I think there are going to be far more studies on both of these drugs in terms of the causation, in terms of the cure, as we go down the road. It's been a pantry staple off and on for more than 50 years. Now sales are on the rise again. Of course, we're talking about Hamburger Helper. Does this humble dinner mix reveal much about the state of our economy? When we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. A truck crashed into a concrete barrier on I-15 in Provo and sent chunks of concrete onto the road, damaging over a dozen cars last night.
It was originally thought that they were hauling some concrete chunks, but between whatever they were hauling and hitting the concrete barrier that broke apart, it sprayed a lot of concrete and concrete chunks and rock into the southbound lane.
Highway Patrol Lieutenant Cameron Roden estimates around 15 cars hit the debris, causing flat tires and other damage. No one was hurt, but the road did have to close for around an hour. A motorcyclist is dead after a crash in Provo, and it happened last evening when a van on University Avenue made a left turn toward 1200 South and collided with a motorcycle. The crash is still under investigation. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump spoke to the UN General Assembly this morning, and he spoke about Russia's war in Ukraine.
I thought that was going to be the easiest one, but in war, you never know what's going to happen. There are always lots of surprises, both good and bad. Everyone thought Russia would win this war in 3 days, but it didn't work out that way. It was supposed to be just a quick little skirmish. It's not making Russia look good. It's making them look bad.
The president says all of Europe needs to put new sanctions in place against Russia to put pressure on Russia to end the war. Your money at this moment, the Dow not quite as far into the positive as it was about an hour ago, but it is still up 33 points to 46,415. Coming up, we've got sunshine and 70 degrees today. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code POWER to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code POWER for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code POWER for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
If you are facing divorce, call Cordell and Cordell today.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. Divorce touches all areas of your life: your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on.
If you are facing divorce, contact Cordell & Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. That's 1-855-GET-LEGAL. CordellCordell.com.
So, you want to be a hero. Here are some ways to get the job. Hunt down that killer shark. Or run into a burning house to save a kitten. Luckily, there's an easier way to become a hero. Call 911 if you see someone experiencing the symptoms of stroke, sudden weakness on one side, or trouble speaking, walking, or seeing. Stroke. Know the signs. Act in time. You'll be a real hero. A message from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke.
Time for a check of traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Any relief, Heather?
Well, finally, we're seeing almost all the delays clear out of Tooele County. Now, you still have a little bit of congestion on SR 36 between Sunset Road and I-80, but that can be pretty typical no matter what time of day it is, just because of the construction in the area. But at least you don't have the delays stretching all the way back into Stansbury Park like we did for most of the morning. I-15 is looking good. No delays northbound or southbound throughout Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties. It's a great commute around the Salt Lake Valley on the east and west side belt routes. And if you're heading up to Summit County, you will see your typical slowing only in the right lane of eastbound I-80 between Kimball Junction and US 40. The Good Feet store, supporting you with comfort no matter what the day brings. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we should see plenty of sunshine today and a high of 74 degrees. Up to 80 tomorrow, 84 on Thursday. Right now it's sunny and 61 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So Hamburger Helper was, I guess, invented, created, released into the public in 1971. And it has kind of been a barometer that people look at for economic indicators. Did you ever feed your kids Hamburger Helper?
Of course, we all did.
I did not, actually.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
Yeah.
I made my own Hamburger Helper because one box would not feed my family. So I would have had to get multiple boxes anyway, so I just made my own. But I thought that was super interesting to see this story. We have Jim Ryan from ABC talking about this.
Most food companies are watching their sales decline. Not so for beans, rice, canned tuna, and boxes of macaroni and cheese, according to the research firm Circana. Hamburger Helper is seeing a resurgence in popularity among budget-minded consumers, despite a broader public move away from processed foods.
Hamburger Helper can help you make a delicious hearty skillet dinner in a snap.
It's so funny. We actually want to hear from our listeners. What are your go-to meals when you need to stretch a buck? You can text us at 57500. We'll read some of them on air and share some of our own.
When you're short on dough. So if Hamburger Helper sales go up, that's a sign that the economy is scary and that people are nervous about their budget and they're doing something to stretch things a little bit. That's interesting.
Yeah, it
what
is
a great
interesting.
barometer.
I know.
We should get our who is it, Spendlove?
Yeah,
our
Robert
economist
Spendlove.
on and talk about that.
Yeah, look, so there's a New York Times article specifically on this Hamburger Helper metric, right, this benchmark, and it's quite detailed. But one of the things that they say is sales of Hamburger Helper are up 14.5% this year through August. They did have an appearance on a show called The Bear. I don't even know what that show is. But they also say it's not just Hamburger Helper. Purchases of rice are up 7.5%. That's a staple. There's more people buying cans of tuna, salmon, and sardines. That sounds gross to me, but beans, boxes of macaroni and cheese. So one of the things that I did when the kids were little is I would do I think I did 8 boxes of macaroni and cheese.
There you go.
And I would do the generic, so they were a quarter a piece, and then I would add hot dogs or something, right? So they had a little bit of extra protein.
Yeah, I used to, when I was a kid, love Hamburger Helper. I thought it was great. I mean, I would think that was a good thing. I think what we had when times were a little tough, and I'll never enjoy these again, was lima beans.
Oh,
I just remember my mom would make lima beans. I'm like, oh my gosh, because you could smell them all day long.
Oh,
and you
wow.
knew you were in trouble. But I mean, I don't even know if anybody eats them anymore. I'm sure they do.
We have a texter who says Costco whole chicken. So Costco still sells their chicken for, I think it's $4.99, something like that, still $5. And they're decent sized chickens. So yeah, that's a great way to get some meat. Another texter says they use things like rice, potatoes, eggs, veggies to make meat dishes do go farther. I've done that too, right?
I think the bottom line also is you eat at home a lot more because when things are good, you go out once in a while. Speaking of Costco chickens, we went and bought one, and the person said this thing was huge. I mean, it was like 3 meals. Of course, there's just 2 of us, but this was a big chicken.
A big chicken.
A giant chicken.
Yeah, we have another texter that says Little Caesars Pizza. Two of them will feed their kids for several days. Creamed tuna fish on toast. So this will date me, but my parents used to feed that to us too. Creamed tuna on toast. Yucky.
Creamed tuna?
Oh, yeah.
What does that mean?
So basically you make a white sauce, so it's flour and milk, and then you add tuna to it, and then canned peas. I don't know if this texter's recipe does that, but yeah, that's how we used to have it. And there's only one way I'll even eat tuna, and my husband has to add a ton of veggies to a can of tuna for me to even eat it. I really don't like it. I don't like salmon. I don't like sardines, but they're protein.
When I go to get a Subway sandwich, I always get tuna salad.
Ew.
It's my go-to. It's my go-to.
Somebody else says they love lima beans, so you're
there.
Out
we
on
go.
That one.
Yes, maybe I should try.
So,
that
and do you guys remember Popeye? Right? He was. I don't know. He was probably the first cartoon character for brand placement. What was it he was trying to sell? Spinach.
Yeah,
Canned
it
spinach.
gave him
It's
muscles.
disgusting.
Right.
Canned spinach is slimy and gross, but he did a good job, right?
Right.
Of selling that. So yeah, it's one of those things when we
and his sidekick Wimpy, what did he sell?
Hamburgers, I think.
Yeah, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday.
Yeah, for a hamburger today.
Yes.
That's pay it forward. We've talked about that before.
There we go.
Yeah. So anyway, back to our news story, and one of the things that people are seeing is the cost of living expenses are up. Eating and drinking expenses are up. Consumers are looking for foods that fill them up for the least amount of money. Yesterday, we talked about a story about food companies looking at adding Teflon as a filler, which I think is gross.
Do not do this at home, right?
But one of the things that we found raising our family when we needed to stretch is we would do like a little bit of meat and then a lot of other stuff. And usually it was like carbs, potatoes or pasta or something, because they're relatively inexpensive and you could make the meat like I remember this cartoon one time seeing, you know how you can get Van de Kamp's pork and beans?
Mm-hmm.
And it was one little piece of bacon being dipped in a variety of cans, right? So it was just giving a little bit of bacon flavor. Sometimes I'm sure my kids thought that.
You know, we think, and we the Fed has done a good job of keeping inflation intact, and it hasn't been risen much since 2020, but the price of food during that time has jumped by 21%. 21% more for food. This is food consumed in the home than it was 4 years ago. And in August, prices in several food categories, including meats, coffee, and many fruits and vegetables, jumped considerably, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So, I mean, the hamburger helper analogy makes sense because people are looking at food prices.
Right.
Food that you're eating at home has gone up a bit. Let's be preemptive and get something that can help us get more on our budget.
Right. And one of the things that has gone up a lot is the price of beef. So it may even be that we're going to Costco chicken helper instead of hamburger helper.
Right.
But we still want to hear from you. 57500. What are your go-to meals when you need to stretch a buck?
Yeah.
There's also a story in the Washington Post I wanted to talk about, and this is the headline: Low-Income Americans slash spending, a worrying sign for the economy. I feel like these stories are related, right? So more people are buying hamburger helper, and we see, this is the Washington Post, and they're looking specifically at Moody's. So Moody's talks about credit and the economy, and they're saying, this is Moody's Vice President of Credit Strategy, Claire Lee. She says U.S. consumer spending is not just softening overall, it's doing so in a fragmented way, and that's a real problem. So what that means, as I read that, is the poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer. but working class Americans, she says, are already up against waning wage growth, rising housing costs, electricity costs, and they're easily burned by any increase in grocery prices.
And I think a lot of people have not yet appreciated or learned yet what tariffs are going to do. And so a lot of us are looking at, okay, tariffs, maybe a year from now we'll be doing cartwheels because they've done so much. But in the meantime, people are saying, like you've talked about before, with Christmas coming up, buy now before tariffs hit Chinese
Right.
products, that type of thing. And it also applies to some of our food items that come from, say, Mexico, Canada, where we get items of food, and those could be jumping up significantly as a result of tariffs. And so people are sort of jumping on that as well. It may end up being a great idea, but right now people are leery to spend money and to put money toward things that might be more expensive down the road.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, the Washington Post article that I was just referencing, they say like things like Chipotle, IHOP, Applebee's, and a chain called Sweetgreen that I'm not really familiar with. They've noted that they're seeing a decrease in business, and retail sales dropped in August. Actually, they increased, but only marginally once adjusted for inflation after years of some really resilient growth. So we've got some great text messages to read when we come back. We're going to stay with this topic one more segment. So please text us 57500. And what are your go-to meals when you need to stretch a buck? That's coming up next. We're streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
At Peach Windows and Doors, they help homeowners stay in the homes they love while upgrading to the elegance, efficiency, and natural light of today. With hundreds of 5-star Google reviews, their clients know Peach Windows and Doors deliver what they promise.
I wanted to replace standard-size French doors with a large custom sliding door. The update required checking a weight-bearing wall. Plus, I wanted a couple of different styles of windows. The new sliding door created a much brighter and open look. Peach was so helpful along the way with recommendations and ideas, and the installers were efficient and respectful of my space. I was thrilled with Peach Windows and Doors.
Give your $1 million home the $1 million feel it deserves. Don't wait on that someday project. Visit Peach Windows and Doors Salt Lake Showroom. Schedule a free in-home visit. You can also explore at peachwindowsanddoors.com or just call them at 801-566-1255. Peach Windows and Doors, where amazing home transformations begin.
Fall is football season. Hi, this is Doug Wright. You know me as Utah's Mr. Sports, and I know that nothing goes better with fall football than looking forward to a delicious meal after the game at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. We're so fortunate we've got 2 locations, one in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City at 275 Southwest Temple, or of course up in the Park City area at Hotel Park City. You can count on the meal prepared perfectly to your tastes. Each and every steak is served sizzling hot on a 500-degree plate, and if you happen to not be in the mood for steak, their entrees are incredible, from seafood to poultry. Sometimes they have specialty entrees on the menu, and of course their desserts are legendary, and the side dishes that you pass around the table to share are wonderful. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. It's fall. It's time to enjoy football and a delicious meal from Ruth's Chris.
The Social Security Administration just announced they are now projected to run out of money 1 year earlier than expected. Benefits could be cut by as much as 23%, and the average person could lose more than $100,000 in lifetime income. This news could significantly change when you file for Social Security. Discover how you could get every penny out of your benefits with a free Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $300,000 and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. This free, customized analysis could help you get every penny out of Social Security. Call 801-896-9622. That number again, 801-896-9622.
Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
Hey, want to hear something great? Right now at Wendy's, you can get 2 of the #1 selling bacon cheeseburger in all fast food, the JBC, plus medium fries and a medium soft drink for just $8. Want to hear something else great? Double the burger means double the bacon. Now that's a game changer. 2 of the #1 bacon cheeseburgers with fries and a drink for just $8. Gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Request $8 JBC meal deal to obtain discount. Individual items at regular price.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-486-9600. That's 800-486-9600.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Inside Sources.
As the price of beef and other grocery items continue to climb, consumers are looking to other ways to stretch their budget and feed their families, not the least of which is saving money. We talked earlier about, of all things, Hamburger Helper sales have gone up because it is a less expensive way to stretch your dollar.
And it's an economic indicator that can leave some economists feeling a little bit concerned. Look, we have asked for text, and we have a whole bunch of them at 57500. What are the go-to meals when you need to stretch a buck? But I needed to bring up something. Sometimes we know, like, you get advice like, well, just skip your latte, right? And then you can save money and you might have enough to buy a house. Well, somebody actually did the math, and this is on BuzzFeed, but I thought it was really funny because in Utah, this was a year ago, but the average home price is $545,000. How many lattes would it take to buy a house in cash?
Since they're about 545, so that's 100,000.
Right. So, nobody's going to save, not going to drink 100,000 lattes.
Right. Yeah.
Lattes.
Yeah.
Right. Some of this math just doesn't math. Right. So
I know, but let's look at it another way. Let's say you spend $5 a day at 200 days a year, that's $1,000.
Right.
That's something. It makes a difference.
Something.
It's not going to make a difference buying a house.
When we were, again, raising our family, I keep saying this, we would continually look at what's the advice for how I can, stretch my budget. And some of it would be, don't go out to eat. Well, we already weren't. Don't buy lattes. Well, we don't drink coffee. Right. I mean, it was like we were already doing all those things. So some of the stuff that we have gotten from texters, and I've got this one, which is a great reminder that we skipped different groups. So this texter said there are other households to consider besides families with little children. I would like to represent widows. Thank you so much for texting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have found that purchasing healthy, pre-made frozen meals like Healthy Choice save me a lot of money. There are some without a lot of chemicals. They're steamed. They've stated how much protein they had, etc. And she said, this way, I do not go through every aisle choosing items that come in packages too large for me. So often meats and fresh foods go bad and expire before I can finish them. I think you get the picture. Anyway, so that is one really great comment. And thank you for reminding us, right? So we also have a texter that says cheap meals that they rely on: pulled pork sandwiches, potatoes, pasta, homemade chili, everything homemade. Store-bought boxed meals can be pricey and overly processed.
So I remember going to college, before you get to the next one. I was just thinking in my own life that my third year of college, I moved out of the house. I was living with a friend. We were broke.
Yeah.
And you know what we ate almost every day?
I don't know, ramen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, because it was like $4 for $1.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Now ramen's a delicacy in places. You get these
yeah,
ramen
that's right.
noodles. And,
that's right.
But I remember more than anything else, that was the signal to me that I was struggling financially was when we were having ramen noodles.
You know what I ate when I was a college student? It's so weird.
What?
Frozen peas. I would cook them, but I ate bags of frozen peas. I don't know why. They just weren't very expensive, I guess. And one of the things when people talk about food insecurity, ramen actually can be an issue because if you're only eating ramen, you're not really getting a well-balanced diet, right, to your point. Okay, another texter, baked potato bar. Those are awesome. This texter says this time of year we eat a lot from our garden. Not only does it save money, but it tastes better. Nothing like a bit with homegrown tomatoes for sure. I just spent the weekend canning tomatoes with my daughter, so that was very fun.
Homegrown?
No. Her garden wasn't as big. But
you know that if you grow your own veggies at certain times, especially this time of year, you can have zucchini all you want.
Yeah, that's right.
You can eat a lot of zucchini.
That's right. But it's really fun to do that, and I think even the home canned stuff, it tastes better than the things that you can buy at the store. Okay, another texter. My go-to meal when I need to stretch a buck is Italian sausage, noodles, and broccoli all mixed together. It checks the boxes for a well-rounded meal.
Actually, sounds pretty good.
It can be made for under $5.
Yeah.
And
actually, sounds very good.
Yeah. Another texter, my mom called it goulash. It was hamburger, elbow macaroni, or spaghetti and tomato juice. A piece of bread and butter, put a spoonful on it of this. It sounds to me like homemade hamburger helper, right? Tomatoes, noodles, hamburger. And then this texter said she'd make a big pan of it and it would last for a couple of meals. Comfort food now.
Yeah. Goulash, I think, describes a lot of things. there probably has a definition at one point, but yeah, we used to have goulash. I couldn't tell you what it was.
Here's another, exactly. It's Here's another good reminder for us. And this texter says you need to understand that farmers and processors have faced inflation also up to 15 to 20%. Farmers aren't getting rich either, and that is absolutely true. I know that's true.
Speaking of farmers, if you take some time on the weekend, there are so many farmers markets right now.
Oh, yeah.
Where you can go.
It's
and
good.
Virtually every community has them. You can buy fresh vegetables. And I don't know what they are price-wise different from the supermarket, but at least you're supporting the local farmer.
Right.
I mean, we go to a farmer's market virtually every weekend and just buy things from people. And, it's fun. You support the community. And I think that it is a good way of saving money.
It really can be. And I think average first frost in Utah is October 10th. It always varies a little. And I know our meteorologist, Matt Johnson, told us we're in for a warmer fall. So most of the produce will go until the first frost, right?
We'll
so
have
at least a few more weeks.
For a while, yes.
Yeah. Okay, another texter. This is something similar to what we've done. Also, she said when they were first married, she and her husband, they had mac and cheese with tuna and peas. So basically macaroni and cheese, you put in a can of tuna, a can of peas, and then it has carbs, protein, dairy, and a vegetable.
We used to call that a tuna fish casserole.
Yeah. Well, I would do tuna fish casserole with pasta added, and then you crumple up potato chips on the top.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, peanut butter and Smucker's Simply Fruit preserves sandwiches with a small glass of milk. So you've got grain, fruit, protein, and dairy. And then we have another texter that says grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup. Oh, so good. And they also say scarlet potatoes from the dollar store with ham and leftover rice made into fried rice. So that's a really great suggestion. And then
scarlet potatoes from the dollar, like canned?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't purchased potatoes from the dollar store.
I haven't either.
And then homemade soups or a taco bar. Yeah, those are all great ways to stretch food.
Well, our listeners are in tune, and that's nice because we all have had times in our life. With the
I'm sure
number
that's
of children,
not true,
the number of children you've raised. But I mean, I just remember college days and college,
right?
Those years when you're stretching.
I would say most people, right? I have met some very wealthy people, not a ton. I don't know a ton, but who have never wanted for a meal. But most people that I know,
if you've suffered from food insecurity at any time in your life, which I have, and which my parents did, you remember that. And then it becomes difficult to go and just splurge.
Yeah.
I mean, every once in a while you do, every once in a while you have to. Certainly I have the resources now to be able to do that. But you still think, if I'm looking at one item in a grocery store and another item that's a little bit cheaper, I usually buy the cheaper one, even if maybe it's not quite as good. The generic model, the generic brands.
Right. I think Costco's maybe made generic popular again with their Kirkland brand.
Right.
But look, we have another texter who says they have a lot of gluten allergies. You know that.
Yeah, my wife does. She's celiac.
And so they can't do the pastas and things. So they say baked potatoes and rice. Somebody else says, anything with ground beef, I add cracked wheat and a little water while cooking the beef. It takes on the flavor and the same texture. That's basically TVP. If you remember that from the old days, textured vegetable protein. Right. It was a great food storage staple. Right. And I have one quick story before we finish this topic. So we adopted kids from orphanages around the world, and several of our kids came with really significant food insecurity to the point where they would hoard. Meaning they would go into the pantry and they would take food and they would hide it in their room. They would maybe open a can and then they would drink the juice off of the peaches, and then they would hide it under their bed, and then I would find moldy food. And we always had a policy in our house that we would never punish with food. We would never withhold food. We had it openly available, and we still had kids that hid food because they were so afraid that they would go hungry again.
I have a question for the texter. If you think about the gluten-free texter, what's a good gluten-free pasta? Because we had chickpea pasta the other day, and it was like powder. So anyway, I'm just suggesting if you want to text us back. Well, so Jimmy Kimmel's show has been off the air for some time, but it's back on, but kind of and partially. Some networks are airing it, some are not. We're going to talk about the decisions behind that and where we come with respect to the Jimmy Kimmel show next.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top local story this hour. A Smithfield city councilman is resigning after he was caught on video having a heated exchange with police. Two officers went to former council member Ted Stokes' home on August 3rd to get information about a minor car crash his son was in. Police just released the body cam footage of the interaction to the Herald Journal. In it, Stokes is seen talking on the phone with Smithfield City Manager Justin Lewis, criticizing how he claims the two officers approached him.
I will do everything in my power as a city council member to make sure these guys are defunded. There will be 5 police officers in this town because this is unbelievable that this guy needs a backup officer to make sure I don't hurt him.
Stokes resigned from the city council after the video went public. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. People's food shopping habits are a good indication of the national economy.
Most food companies are watching their sales decline. Not so for beans, rice, canned tuna, and boxes of macaroni and cheese, according to the research firm Circana. Hamburger Helper is seeing a resurgence in popularity among budget-minded consumers, despite a broader public move away from processed foods.
ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. A new report shows a tornado that hit southeast Utah earlier this month produced EF2 strength winds. It was the second of 2 tornadoes that touched down on September 13th near Montezuma Creek. The National Weather Service says the larger tornado reached winds of 120 miles an hour and traveled about a mile. During that time, it destroyed 3 homes. Your money at this moment, the Dow up slightly, 20 points in the positive, 46,401. Coming up, expecting plenty of sunshine. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time 10:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hello, Utah. I'm Josh with IWC Roofing. For over 25 years, my family has been safeguarding your homes with the finest roofing solutions. We value your time, and we're committed to replacing most roofs in just one day with a peace of mind 50-year shingle warranty. Call us today at 801-232-5690 or visit iwcroofingutah.com. Ask us for the $1,500 off any full roof replacement. Financing available, 801-232-5690. Utah homeowners, look no further than IWC Roofing for a roof that stands the test of time. With 25 years of excellence, IWC is your trusted family-owned roofing expert. At IWC, we offer one-day roof replacements with top-tier quality materials, all with a 50-year shingle warranty. To keep a leaky roof from dampening your day, we're offering $1,500 off a full roof replacement. Get a free estimate. Call 801-232-5690 or visit iwcroofingutah.com. 801-232-5690.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hi, Utah families. We all would do anything we could to boost our children's confidence and set them up for success. And Smile Zemi can help. Smile Zemi is the personalized learning tablet designed for students from kindergarten through 5th grade. Smile Zemi adapts to your child's level and learning style, delivering engaging lessons anytime, anywhere. Each lesson offers just right challenges, not too easy, not too hard, keeping learning fresh, motivating, and confidence building. Visit smilezemi.com to learn more.
Common Spirit Health has expert orthopedic care that gets you back at it and back to your best. Find skilled orthopedic physicians at Common Spirit locations who specialize in general orthopedics and repair of hips, knees, shoulders, and hands, so you can return to running races or chasing the grandkids. Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Orthopedic care with human kindness is here. Visit mountain.commonspirit.org.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Heather Kelly.
We don't have any major delays across the Wasatch Front, but we do have a couple of issues to discuss. One of them is a vehicle that was on fire. This was on the exit ramp from eastbound 201 freeway to Bangerter Highway. Now, the remnants of this vehicle fire is still over on the right shoulder, so traffic is just a little bit slow as they go by. And then there's also a crash eastbound I-80 in Summit County. It's right before you exit at US 40. That too is over on the right shoulder, but this is an area where traffic just slows down naturally anyway, so that is just not helping matters. But it's not really causing any big backups in the area. You have good speeds on I-15 throughout Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties. Common Spirit hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather 74 today, a high with lots of sunshine. Tomorrow, we get up to 80, then 84 on Thursday. And temperatures will stay kind of in that range all the way through the weekend. Rain chances none until at least Sunday, maybe not till Monday. Right now it is 63 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, if you're a fan of Jimmy Kimmel, comedian Jimmy Kimmel, he's going to make his return to late-night television tonight after his controversial comments about Charlie Kirk's accused killer. Here's ABC's Perry Russell discussing the latest comments from the FCC chairman, Brandon Carr.
Yesterday, Carr denied threatening to revoke the licenses of ABC stations that aired Kimmel's show, saying instead Disney made a business decision to take the comedian off the air. Sinclair, one of the biggest owners of network TV affiliates, says it still will not air the show despite Kimmel's reinstatement. The company saying beginning Tuesday night, Sinclair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across our ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. Discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return.
So FCC Chairman Brendan Carr has said, I didn't threaten to take them off the air. But if you remember what he said?
Yeah, you can do it the easy way or the hard way.
Yeah,
that sounds like a threat. I don't know.
Yeah, the hard way is we'll come after you. But he's backing off that a little bit. It's interesting because Kimmel is only going to be on in certain markets.
That was one of the things I was confused by, right? So I'm glad you cleared that up. And we learned as we were doing the show that local ABC affiliate, which is with Nexstar, they're not going to put Jimmy Kimmel back on the air, so not in Utah. But let me tell you one of the things that I saw with Scaramucci. Did you remember him? Anthony Scaramucci, he was like fired after like 2 weeks or something. So he posted yesterday when the news broke that that Jimmy Kimmel was coming back. He says this, he goes, the Kimmel suspension lasts 0.54 Scaramucci's. Welcome back, Jimmy.
And who was it? Stephen Colbert.
Yeah.
he's off and apparently permanently off. I don't know that this bodes well for him, but I think it does give a little bit of comfort to the other late night hosts, and I don't want to name them all because there are too many, but Jon Stewart and others. But they have probably been watching this fairly closely because political commentary and political jokes have really been problematic, and some of our leaders are saying enough's enough, and you either stop it or we're going to
there's a threat of revoking broadcasting licenses.
Right. It gets close to a First Amendment problems when the government is now jumping in.
Yeah.
But again, they're saying, well, we're not going to restrict your speech. We're going to restrict your license based on your speech. And I think
Basically
it's a difference without a distinction. But right.
This is so Disney got a lot of backlash. So they're the parent company, and their statement, I guess, their press release when they announced that he would be returning, is that last Wednesday we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. So if you also remember, there was a huge backlash from Hollywood, and there was a campaign against Disney, and I've read numbers like up to 1 million subscribers pulled their subscriptions from Disney. Like, that's going to hit them where it hurts.
Disney and Hulu.
ABC. And
right.
Hulu. Yeah, they all go together, right?
Right. And there were some 400 artists that gathered together and wrote a statement that they were concerned about what was going on. So Kimmel's coming back on the air, but there are two, Nexstar and Sinclair. I don't know the owners or people that run those particular networks. If you are a Nexstar, which we are in Utah, our ABC affiliate is owned by Nexstar, or Sinclair, those two are not bringing Jimmy Kimmel back, and I'm told that they're bringing back some sort of news station during that time.
News. So my question is, where can you watch him? I mean, where can't you watch him? Can you stream him online?
Yeah, you're probably gonna have to stream him and get another source.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen, if this is a permanent change for these affiliates or not. But I do find it interesting that there was such heavy backlash to this decision that Disney changed their minds within less than a week.
Yeah, and the pundits are coming back and forth. The right wing group is saying, well, it must be nice if you're on the left. You're only out of service for 5 days, and the left is saying this is an affront to the First Amendment. I mean, you could look at it both ways. I personally didn't see the Jimmy Kimmel segment where he got himself in trouble, and he's not my favorite late night host. I think he's humorous. I think he's funny. But that wasn't funny. What I saw him do, and I don't want to go through it, and I don't even remember the exact verbiage, but had I been in the audience or watching when I heard that, I would have cringed a little bit. So, I mean, it's humor, I guess, and he got the reaction he wanted out of it. Well, but it was, I don't know, I didn't think it was more of a...
I mean, that's the question, right? Is it, you don't have to find it humorous, right? But if you remember when President Biden was the president, he was he took the brunt of the jokes, right?
Sure he did.
Late night comics made fun of him a lot. And if you remember, this is what I really, really remember about late night comedy, and I've never watched it really a lot, but after 9/11, there was a pause on basically all comedians. They just did not make jokes for it was a little period of time, but then it came back, right? And because comedy is one of the things that helps us in our culture, and we can see things. But one of the things I thought that was interesting too is we had, even from the Deseret News, say, look, what he said was offensive, but the government should not be weighing in on what can be said and what cannot be said.
Right, and different networks are sort of given their position on why they're bringing him on and why they're not. I'm interested in finding out Nexstar's, because I've seen it published, and when we get that, I'll read it to you. But different networks are saying, we're either bringing it on for one reason or we're not bringing it on. Sinclair and Nexstar, we're told, are not. Other groups are. You're not going to be able to see Jimmy Kimmel in the Utah market, at least for the time being.
Yeah, and again, I think we need to continue to have conversations about what the First Amendment means, right? What is freedom of the press? What is We've talked about the ability for employers to fire employees that they don't like their speech, right? But as I understand it, Mr. Attorney, the First Amendment guarantees my right to be able to express myself. It doesn't guarantee my right that there's no consequences for those actions, but it also keeps government from quashing my ability to say so.
Right. And Jimmy Kimmel can go to the local park or venue where he lives and speak and tell his jokes all he wants, but the FCC saying, if you cross certain lines, we may just revoke your license. I know that's it's troubling that it's the government doing that. That's what I think is bothering people, is that this one is a little different than, because we talked a week ago about employers who were saying, look, post whatever you want, but you're not going to work here anymore if you're posting bad humor about Charlie Kirk or bad humor about,
or it can be whatever.
Yeah. But that was the example that was getting people fired, and people were like, hey, wait a minute, what about my First Amendment right? Yeah, well, you can exercise all you want. You just can't work here anymore. And I think that the FCC, when we talk about private versus public, the FCC is clearly a public entity. I mean, it's the government, and they're restricting speech. Maybe, who knows? We're not testing that because Jimmy Kimmel's coming back, at least in some markets. Well, when we come back, a Smithfield city councilman is resigning after he was caught on video having a heated exchange with police. We'll play that when we come back. And remember, we are streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by @YourServicePros.
I want more from my checking account. That's why I have Dream Rewards checking from Cyprus Credit Union. I earn points for making everyday purchases, paying my loans, even building my savings. Those points get me awesome rewards like cash back, gift cards, travel, and more. I'm making my everyday spending work for me. Learn more at cypruscu.com.
Cyprus Credit Union, your future is our future.
Insured by NCUA.
Ticket packages for the Utah Mammoth 2025-26 season are available now. From full season and half season packages to mini plans and other flexible options, choose the ticket package that fits you best and be part of the action all season long. Call or text 801-325-PUCK to talk with a rep or visit nhl.com/Utah/tickets/season tickets to learn more.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
This week's movie show is brought to you by Sound Sleep Medical. Get a free sleep screening and a free sleep consultation by tuning in on Friday morning from 10 to 1. Sound Sleep Medical with 7 locations in Utah.
Nothing beats your game day confidence. You knock on wood and the coffee table and bite each chip exactly twice. This is our year, you whisper to your bobblehead. So when you buy this season's lucky jersey, you don't leave checkout up to chance. You use Paze, an online checkout offered by banks and credit unions. Rituals intact. Payment handled. Bobblehead still nodding yes. Shop with confidence at your favorite online stores. Visit Paze.com. That's PAZE.com. Terms and conditions apply.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Are you thinking about buying medicine online? A search for online pharmacies yields more than 20 million results. But which ones can you trust? Medicines bought from unlicensed online pharmacies can be dangerous. You may get a fake drug, your condition may get worse, or you may experience a bad reaction. Don't put your health at risk. To learn how to find an online pharmacy that's safe and legal, visit fda.gov/BeSafeRx. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine, the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
Affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control, and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
And expanded Inside Sources.
It sort of comes down to, do you know who I am? And when you're saying that to a police officer, you're digging yourself a hole. A Smithfield City Councilman is resigning after he was caught on video having a heated exchange with police. 2 officers went to former council member Ted Stokes' home on August 3rd to get information about a minor car accident his son was in. Police just released body cam footage of the interaction to the Herald Journal. In it, Stokes is seen talking on the phone with Smithfield City Manager Justin Lewis, criticizing how he claims the 2 officers approached him.
I approached him to talk to me. He says, you need to back up off of me. Back up off of me. I'm like, I'm standing here talking to you with a Sharpie in my hand. You think I'm going to hurt you? These guys are so untrained, Justin. It blows my mind. I am done. Like, I don't know if there's a way to amend the budget now, but I want to amend it, and I'm going to call the other council members tonight. I'm going to tell them exactly what happened, and we are amending it. Like, we are going to 5 officers. This is it. We need 2 officers on duty in the morning. We need 2 officers on duty in the afternoon. We need 1 officer on duty at night. This is the most unbelievable thing I have ever seen.
Ouch.
Well, yeah. Yeah, and it was recorded, right? So one of the things I had to check, if he's going to defund the department down to 5 officers, my question was, well, how many do they have? Well, they have 12. He wants to get rid of 7
That's
of
a
them, more than
significant
half,
cut,
right? Yeah. Well, we have KSL News Radio's Adam Small in studio with us again. Tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, so again, this was on August 3rd. 2 officers go to Ted Stokes' home. And it all started because apparently his son, it sounds like he's a teenager, got into a minor car accident. It sounds like he accidentally hit a parked car or something like that earlier in the day. And I believe that, from what I'm understanding, Stokes was telling the officers, I got in contact with the person who owns the car. Hey, we, let's get our insurance information exchanged. And apparently the person who owned that parked car wanted a police report, like just to have, for insurance purposes, which is pretty standard. Sure. And then the officers go to the home, and the reason that Stokes is so fired up is because he claims that when the 2 officers come in, first off, he's like, why are there 2 officers here when I just need to give information about like a minor like fender bender with a parked car and my son who's like clearly okay. Like apparently he had kids at his house for a birthday party or something like that. And from there, he just continues to get really heated and he claims that the one of the officers, he like tries to approach him, and I think we heard a little bit in that soundbite where he's like, the officer said, you need to step away from me right now, and like he just got even more upset with that. So then he calls the city manager, and for the first 4 or 5 minutes of this body camera footage, the officer's just standing there And Stokes is just on the phone, like going ballistic to the city manager, just talking about and earlier on, and actually we have another soundbite where he actually talks about defunding the police department.
I will do everything in my power as a city council member to make sure these guys are defunded. There will be 5 police officers in this town because this is unbelievable that this guy needs a backup officer to make sure I don't hurt him.
So
clearly he was not happy.
So then from there, finally gets off the phone after about 4 or 5 minutes. He starts exchanging more information with the officer. The officer's like, hey, is your son okay? Can I talk to him? And Stokes is basically like, why do you need to talk to my son? Like, we told you got a bloody nose. He's fine. Officer never goes in to talk to the son. They kind of leave it at be. Okay, and the officer then tries to leave, saying, okay, I now need to go work on filling out the report. And then we'll go into this last soundbite here where Stokes just gets super upset and actually follows him back to his patrol vehicle as he's trying to go.
Okay.
Didn't say
I'm going to start working on paperwork so that I don't waste more time.
Let's finish
so,
this.
No.
Hey, Officer Hanson, let's finish this conversation.
Hey.
Okay. Let's finish this.
I'm
you said you didn't
I'm
know.
going to do paperwork.
Hey, stop.
I'm
Listen to me.
going to do the paperwork.
You're walking away from the conversation that you know you... Look, hey.
Okay.
You said, I didn't know the whole situation. What report did you receive?
What do you mean?
What were the words that the dispatch person told you?
It's all on written records.
So, no, you tell me.
I'm going to do
Why
my
won't you
paperwork.
just tell me? This is what I hate about you guys. The lack of transparency.
Okay.
Lack of transparency. All the bull crap. It's done. I'm sorry. You guys dug your own grave.
Ouch.
That's basically how the footage ended. I think there's maybe a few more seconds of natural sound of the car and you saying something outside, but that's how it went. And then there were a couple outlets that requested this. I mean, we got the video. The one I rolled on was the Herald Journal obtained it, I believe, from a public records request. And again, this happened on August 3rd. This was a little while ago, but we're just getting the video. And as soon as that video goes public, obviously there is backlash for how city councilman's talking to a police officer. And city council then confirms on social media he has resigned due to, and I quote, a very public incident which has possibly shaken the faith of some in our leadership.
Yeah, you can't do that. And I'll tell you, to answer a question we started this with, Adam, why there were 2 police officers there. If I was the chief of police of Smithfield, and by the way, that's a good agency. I've worked with them up there up in Cache County, and I had a city council member whose house we were going to, I probably would send 2 police officers. I know that's not common, but just like, hey, let's just make sure that we've documented what we're doing here. Let's make sure we don't have a problem. And in this day and age, you got to expect, whether you're on the city council or not, that virtually every cop has a body cam now. Because this could have come out differently had we not all seen this video. But Adam, you're right. Once the video comes out, you know, the public response, the national response, the local response is like, who is this guy?
Yeah, exactly. And to kind of bounce off of that a little bit, I mean, I lived in Farmington for a long time, and I remember there was a time that it was something non-emergency. I called the non-emergency line like, hey, I just wanted to know like my legal standing on this. I was having an issue getting into my storage unit. My apartment accidentally like changed the locks and didn't tell me. And I'm like, my stuff's in there. So I called them, and it was the same thing. Two police officers. Farmington's another small department. They sent 2. It's not uncommon. And,
right.
and like, I will empathize in the sense of, look, I think it may be fair to say sometimes police, because when you are a police officer, you tend to see, I think it's fair to say that a lot of them see things from the side of a police officer. It can be hard sometimes to see things as a civilian. Maybe it can be a little intimidating when you have multiple officers. It can be intimidating anytime you talk to a police officer because you know they have power and authority that you're trying to respect, but it can just be nerve-wracking. So maybe I empathize a little bit on that. But obviously, you know, going to saying these kinds of things, following an officer back to his police vehicle, you're basically using your power
as
a
city.
city.
Your own grave?
Yeah, obviously.
We're going to cut your department. We're going to defund you. Like, he's in a position where he doesn't need to do that. I mean, if you're just Joe Citizen and you're upset, I'm going to call the mayor, I'm going to do this, then you're inappropriate. I was going to use a bad word, but you're starts with Jack. But anyway, you're just not you're not a good citizen. But if you're a city leader and you're doing that, you would just exacerbate. You make it worse because now you're using your position of power to make a statement that if you're mad at a cop, I always say, take the ticket, sign the ticket,
right.
call the department
Like
a
fight
week
it
later.
later or something,
file an IA complaint or something like that. But doing it on the scene, that never makes sense, ever.
And it never really goes well either. I mean,
No.
in this situation, I mean, props to the officer for keeping his cool, obviously, because there are some officers that would not appreciate being talked to like this.
Right.
And I mean, thankfully it didn't escalate. But like, and you're in a situation, you're talking to a police officer on the scene, and while you are protected by freedom of speech, it's not going to get better. Like, the best thing to do is, like, you get a ticket, you don't agree with it. Okay, cool. You make a court date,
Absolutely.
go fight it.
Right.
Like, but this is obviously, like you said, Greg, I mean, city leaders are obviously going to be held to a higher standard. And as soon as this got shared around, it was the resignation came quickly.
So I didn't hear the entirety of the video or audio, Adam, but from what I heard, the police handled it fairly well. I mean, is that your take as well?
Yeah, so just from like the visual of it, because the audio only encapsulates so much. So basically, it sounds like two officers respond initially, and it sounds like when things started to get heated, one officer actually sounds like went back to his patrol vehicle and sat there just in case he needed backup, which was still upsetting Councilman Stokes. But then from there, the other officer, I mean, for the first 4 or 5 minutes, that one officer who's talking to Councilman Stokes is just standing there with a notepad, just waiting for like 4 or 5 minutes for him to get off the phone with the city manager. And then from there, you hear the interaction of like, I'm trying to be nice. I'm just trying to get some info. We heard there was a car accident. Like, I don't have all the info until we get here and talk to you. And then he's like, okay, I got to go fill out the report, tries to leave. And just Councilman Stokes just does not calm down. And that, it sounds like from what I could listen to and see, police were, at least in the clip I saw, didn't see what happened the entire interaction, but in the body cam, they seemed very calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he did issue a letter of resignation and a public apology. So they will be replacing him on the Smithfield City Council.
Right, yes.
So,
Utah Valley University is now launching a review of their safety practices after the murder of political activist Charlie Kirk on campus. We'll get into what this review may look like with a former FBI agent next. Stay with us on KSL News Radio, and you can stream us on KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. This is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Kelly. KSL's top local story this hour. Roy police are looking for the driver of an SUV who hit a woman and then took off. They say the SUV went over a curb around 9:45 this morning and hit a woman in the front yard of a home. She was taken to the hospital, but we don't know her condition. Police say the person who hit her was driving a black SUV. Opting to take your bike instead of the car could help prevent dementia. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
Researchers in Great Britain observed the habits of nearly 500,000 people, and they found that those who regularly rode their bicycles, they had a 19% lower risk of dementia and a 22% lower risk of Alzheimer's disease. The research published in JAMA also found that the act of cycling, it engaged that part of the brain that's responsible for memory and learning.
Researchers say more study is needed to be done to prove that cycling is the reason so many people saw lower rates of brain-related diseases, but they say the results so far are encouraging. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Jimmy Kimmel Live returns to ABC television stations tonight, but not all of them are airing the show, including here in Utah. The Walt Disney Company says they initially took him off the air to avoid further inflaming a tense situation, but have since had thoughtful conversations with Kimmel. However, two owners of ABC-affiliated stations Nexstar and Sinclair say their stations will continue to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live for the time being. Your money at this moment, the Dow has gained 10 points, but the NASDAQ has lost 101. Coming up, lots of sun, but not too hot. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Worried about market losses? If headlines are keeping you up at night, it's time to take control. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know you've worked hard to save. But in times like these, what if can turn into what now? If you're planning to retire or are in retirement, you need a strategy that helps protect your future. At Trajan Wealth, you can capture market gains, protect your account from losses, and guarantee income for life. Right now, you could receive a bonus of up to 30% or annual growth of up to 10% for retirement income. You heard me right. An upfront bonus of up to 30% or annual growth of up to 10%, all guaranteed to boost your lifetime income in retirement. Don't leave your future to chance. Plan with confidence. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company, DBA, in most states as Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. We're dedicated to serving people 50 and up like me. Our needs are different. Big Wireless wants us in an unlimited plan, but if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used. At Consumer Cellular, we're focused on affordable, reliable plans, including data that suits your needs, not ours. Our plans start at just $20, and you'll get the best customer service in the business.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. I spoke with the hiring manager who told me that 3 of the 10 resumes that he had in the top listed pile were almost identical. Same wording, same experiences, same interests, but different names. The candidates had used the same AI program to modify their resume to fit the job description. It was no surprise that the AI-based hiring program labeled them as one of the top candidates. But it got worse. Other candidates had almost identical answers in the phone interviews because AI told them what they thought the employer wanted to hear. Much as we would like the computer to tell us who to hire, successful managers will still need to use the basic interpersonal skills to make the right hiring decision. If you want to know more about how to make good hiring decisions, consider an MBA at Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And traffic is running smoothly now all across the Wasatch Front. The earlier crash we had eastbound I-80 near US 40 in Summit County is cleared, as well as an earlier vehicle fire that was on the exit ramp from 201 to Bangerter Highway. So no slowdowns there. The only difficulty you may run into is a lot of the construction barrels pretty much everywhere across the Wasatch Front. The Utah Symphony's Masterwork series features the greatest classical hits from the 1700s to today. Everyone's welcome at Abravanel Hall. Tickets start at $26 at utahsymphony.org. Hits. Mostly sunny skies the rest of this week with highs around 80 degrees, lows in the mid-50s with no rain in the forecast. Right now it's 65 degrees and partly cloudy. I'm Heather Kelly from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, weather, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Utah Valley University is now launching a review of their safety practices after the murder of political activist Charlie Kirk on campus 2 weeks ago. KSL News Radio's Heather Peterson explains.
UVU says they've initiated a comprehensive independent review with an outside organization. Previously, the university has said there were 6 officers monitoring Charlie Kirk's speaking event the day he was shot, as well as Kirk's security team and some officers in plain clothes. However, bags weren't checked and neither were rooftops. UVU's president, Astrid Tuminez, says they believe a review of this targeted act of violence will offer valuable insights on how college campuses can improve their responses and preparedness going forward. She says they'll use any findings to strengthen their current safety practices at UVU and hopefully throughout all of Utah higher education. The university says they're also forming a committee that will help develop a memorial for Kirk. Heather Peterson, KSL News Radio.
So it's, of course, something that one would expect, right? That after an event like the shooting, the very public shooting and death of Charlie Kirk, that there was going to be some kind of review and assessment. We have on the line with us Carl Schmay, a retired FBI supervisory special agent. Can you tell us, Special Agent, what is your take on this independent review?
Hey, Holly. Hey, Greg. So this is a critical thing that needs to happen. Anytime there's a major security failure, this is a type of, we call this an after-action review, that needs to be done to take a look at what security measures were in place. Was there a plan? What kind of coordination was there between Charlie Kirk's security team and campus police? If you look back at the assassination attempt against President Trump last year, there was a review that was conducted there that identified numerous failures. And, so there's going to be a similar type of review that's going to take place here.
And do you suppose, Carl, that there will be a finding of failure? And I'm not asking you to play Monday morning quarterback here because there was security there, but do you think that they will find that something should have been done that were not done?
Greg, so the thing with this is that it depends on what was written into that security plan. It's not possible to totally avoid risk unless you just don't do events, and that's not who Charlie Kirk was. And there was extra risk by being outdoors because it's really difficult to secure an outdoor venue because you can have a sniper take a shot from a long distance, as was the case here. It would have been much safer to do this indoors, where security can control the venue, right? They can check bags, they can have people walk through magnetometers, but it sounds like that's not what Charlie Kirk wanted to do, from what I understand. He liked being outdoors; that was part of his appeal, and so there had to be some acceptance of risk in that situation.
And I'm struck by that there is some acceptance of risk, right? You cannot eliminate all risk. What do you anticipate might be changes moving forward based on what happened with Charlie Kirk?
I think that going forward, outdoor venues are going to be scrutinized much more. The Trump assassination attempt was an outdoor venue. Obviously, there was much higher security there. The Secret Service was there, and they obviously offer a much higher level of security. UVU, I don't think they're probably as accustomed to having these high-profile events. A lot of people around the country had probably never even heard of UVU prior to this event, which is, unfortunate for the university. But I think going forward, there's going to be a real hard look at, is there risk worth it to be outside just because of the extra exposure?
I'm just looking over your bio, Carl, which, by the way, is very impressive. You've obviously been involved in situations where you were called upon as a member of the FBI to provide security for events. Tell us what that conversation looks like, and maybe like an outdoor event like this, what kind of things are you looking for, and what kind of cooperation do you expect from, say, a university or the local police or something like that?
Well, generally, the first thing that's done is that the security team that's in charge of protecting the person, the protectee, would conduct what we call an advance. So they would actually send people ahead of time to review, take a look at the venue. They want to get boots on the ground and look over the security plan, meet the various personnel and agencies that would be involved, go over a communications plan. Is there a medical plan? Is there an evacuation plan? And to see, does a proposed plan meet the requirements? So I don't know if that was done with Charlie Kirk's private security team. He's a private figure, so he had a security team, but obviously they're not going to offer the same level of protection as a Secret Service. So generally, there's going to be coordination meetings done ahead of time. They'll be taking a look at any intelligence to see were there any threats, any that were coming in, whether they're online or through other means, anything that would heighten the risk to the protectee. And then there's a decision has to be made. If there's threats that are coming in, maybe there's a decision made to either cancel the event or move it to a safer venue. So those are the types of things that would typically happen. If there's time, there might even be some sort of a run through, some sort of a rehearsal, just to practice things, and just to see, make sure the coordination efforts are all working as they think that they should be.
I have a question about escape routes, escape plans. So with this outdoor event, it sounds like people were able to get away from that immediate area really quickly, but really encountered trouble leaving the parking lot area. But it would seem to me that if it was held inside, you may have trouble getting outdoors, like the doors to the venue. So, what are the trade-offs there?
So, Holly, good question. So the trade-off is that indoor is going to be more secure. A security team is going to control that environment. They can screen people. They can have them go through magnetometers. So that's a much safer venue. There's always going to be some sort of an exit route for the protectee. So they're going to have like a back door. They're going to have something scoped out ahead of time. The security team's primary goal is to protect their protectee. So they're going to have that route mapped out ahead of time for them. For people that are in there, obviously, funneling them through doors, that's going to take a little bit longer. So there you're going to rely on your armed police officers. If you had some sort of an active shooter that somehow made it through the screening process, you really would be relying on police officers to respond and to take out the active shooter.
That was retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent Carl Schmay joining us, and I would actually like to have a few more minutes with him to talk about what to look forward to in the future at USU having theirs indoor, and really this event that we just had in Arizona. Maybe we can have him back at some point. Straight ahead, we're going to talk about some local crime stories, including a rideshare driver who has been charged with kidnapping and assaulting a 19-year-old intoxicated client. The follow-up on the individuals charged with placing a bomb underneath a Fox 13 truck, and others. Stay with us.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities, so do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today.
Visit mintmobile.com/radio.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
My doctor told me my cholesterol is borderline, so I took control with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula. Garlic helps maintain healthy cholesterol safely and naturally. It's odor and taste-free, and Garlic is a world leader in garlic potency. I'm taking charge of my cholesterol with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula, cholesterol's natural enemy.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
The power of we believes in you. It advocates for you. It completes your circle. It makes sure you have the strongest circle possible. And with Intermountain Health in yours, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
At BMW of Pleasant Grove, we believe that driving should be more than just a commute. It should be an experience. Feel the perfect fusion of performance, technology, and luxury with our stunning lineup of new and certified pre-owned BMWs. From the exhilarating drive of a 3 or 5 Series to the spacious elegance of an X7, experience a transparent and effortless car buying experience. Visit us at bmwofpg.com. BMW of Pleasant Grove. The ultimate driving machine is closer than you think.
When you take your grandkids to Disney, do they know what's in your investment portfolio? Do they even care? They're busy having a great time, and you're busy making memories. At Galileo Wealth Management, we understand the nuts and bolts of retirement planning, our investments, the stock market, taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and more. But think about it. What are you trying to do here? Is your goal to beat the S&P? Or is your goal to make memories with your family? Our goal is to give you the confidence to spend in retirement without the fear of running out of money. Call Todd Kim at Galileo Wealth Management today, 801-516-3227. That's 801-516-3227, or go online to GalileoWealth.com. Let Todd Kim and Galileo Wealth Management help you make memories, not just money.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
The new Inside Sources.
You know, for the past 43 years, I've either prosecuted or defended over 500 DUI cases. And I tell people, you know, it's not worth it. If you get in trouble or you're drinking or you're out in a place you shouldn't be, call a taxi, call a rideshare, call an Uber, call a friend, anything. But sometimes even that can go badly for a person. And we're reading today about an individual who's been charged with several sex crimes involving allegedly assaulting a 19-year-old intoxicated client after a rideshare pickup. Authorities suspect there could be additional victims due to his work as a driver.
That is like, what a nightmare, right? So first of all, she's 19. She probably shouldn't have been drinking. But she did the right thing to try to get a safe ride home. And then now the driver of that vehicle, that rideshare, is being charged with aggravated kidnapping. I think it was not just a one-day thing either.
Right. Yes, he held her for some time. She was intoxicated, had her in his car, held her for some period of time, assaulted her. And he's also charged with, I'm going through the charges here, they just came down recently, even obstruction of justice. So he attempted to hide and disguise some of the things that he was doing. Now, police are looking at this case and saying, are there other victims out there? And you can bet, well, maybe not, but once this comes out, other people might say, you know, that was me too. And the problem you get with victims in cases like this, and I'm biased because I do work for the local rape recovery center, is that sometimes they feel like their position of being intoxicated and being in that contributed to it, and they feel guilty. But that's not the case. I mean, I tell people, if you feel like you've been assaulted, contact the police. It's right. It's not your fault.
You know, one of the things that Uber and Lyft have both done is they have created tips for female passengers to be safe. And one of the things, especially Uber has done, is make it at least possible to request a female driver. Right, that's one of the things they asked their passengers, right? What would make you feel safer? And one of the things is to say, can I request a female driver?
And you absolutely can. And that makes a lot of sense. Or, I mean, obviously you can't always be with another person, but if you share a ride,
Right.
you're going to be much less likely to be assaulted.
So I'm looking at an article. This is from West Coast Trial Lawyers, by the way, on how safe Uber and Lyft services are for female passengers. And they say between 2021 and 2022, there were 2,700 incidents. Most of the cases were sexual assault and misconduct.
And I was looking at that same study. It kind of goes both ways. Sometimes the driver is the victim of the assault.
30% of the time, the driver's the victim.
But yeah, and so, I mean, I still espouse if you're too drunk to drive, there are alternatives to just driving, because, I mean, your chances of getting a DUI or hurting someone are greater than your chance of being assaulted. I know those are terrible risks to apply against one another, but, you know, getting a ride from a friend or something like that makes a lot of sense too. You know, I can go back to have a designated driver and all the kind of advice I give people.
Right. So Lyft also allows women to request female drivers. And then there's some other just basic common sense things. First of all, make sure the place where you're going, like if you're expecting to be dropped off at a friend's house or a family member's house, that they know where you are. I think I don't see this on a list, but if you have the find my location on your phone, then people can help track you. You do have a follow my ride or share my trip, so people can do that. There's emergency assistance within the app that you can push a button within the Uber app and call for emergency assistance. And also, I think the advice to sit in the back seat, right? Make sure. First of all, make sure you're getting in the right vehicle, but second of all, sit in the back seat and
you know, and if I'm just looking at the charges, including kidnapping, because if a driver of a vehicle drives in such a manner that it would not be safe to exit the vehicle, you can be kidnapped in a car. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You can driving around if you're going 30 miles an hour or 20 mile or greater, and that's kidnapping if the person inside the car is saying, stop, 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 I want to get out, please let me out, and you continue to drive. And aggravated kidnapping in this case is a first-degree felony that carries 5 years to life in prison, and it's also a registrable, aggravated kidnapping is a registrable sex offense under Utah law. So these are very serious charges that he's facing, 2 first-degree felonies and the obstruction of justice, which is also a first-degree felony because he obstructed the investigation into a first-degree felony. So, yeah, these are all very serious charges. And the DA is saying we think there may be other victims out there.
Right. We have another case.
Yeah, we wanted to follow up on a case that we talked about last week, I think it was. It occurred on September 13th, but members of the Salt Lake City Police Department on September 12th and the Unified Fire Authorities responded to a suspicious device in Salt Lake City. It was determined to be a bomb, and they believed at the time it was real. It was placed near a news media vehicle parked next to an occupied building. FBI came out, investigated it. They did find that it was at least a mock-up of a bomb, and now the individuals involved in that situation, and there are 2, have been charged criminally by the district attorney's office with a weapon of mass destruction, and even they've charged it as a hoax weapon of mass destruction. This is a mouthful, but it doesn't. And I tell people this: you can commit an armed robbery with a BB gun. If the person on the other side of it thinks it's a gun, it's a gun. I mean, you can have your finger in your pocket, and it's a gun if you're scaring somebody bad enough. So this may not have been a real active bomb that could have gone off, but they're charged with a hoax weapon of mass destruction. That's a first-degree felony as well for doing this. And of course, the police came. They found the bomb. It appeared to have sticks of dynamite, blasting caps, a fuse. They find things that make it look and smell and walk like a bomb, and so they're going to charge this as a bomb. And these 2 individuals are now charged with those crimes. And it just like the individual that's charged with the sexual assault in the first instance we talked about, no bail. They're sitting in jail with no possibility of getting out of jail anytime soon because the severity of the crime is so high.
Yeah, KSL News Radio's Becky Bruce explained a little bit more.
According to Salt Lake County DA Sim Gill, the investigation into the bomb remains in the hands of the federal government. But while serving a search warrant related to that probe at a home in Magna, Gill says fire officials called in to assist spotted weapons and dynamite out in plain sight, along with a blasting cap and a length of fuse. In the probable cause statement, the fire investigator says both Adil and Adib Nasir claimed the dynamite was real and that there were more explosives in the home. They evacuated for safety, but later determined that dynamite was fake. Both men now face felony charges of making, possessing, selling, or using hoax weapons of mass destruction. Becky Bruce, KSL News Radio.
And that's in addition to federal charges for making a real weapon of mass destruction and placing it near the vehicle.
Wow.
So these are serious charges. And incendiary devices, we call them, which is a cool name for bombs, are really problematic, and it includes things as simple as like a Molotov cocktail, which you can make fairly easily. But if you're making something that's got some level of shrapnel and an explosive device, explosive like these had blasting caps or something like that. I mean, this was more than just something made to scare. This was something that really could have caused some problems.
I remember a couple of other stories recently. So the man accused in the murder of the 2 Tremonton cops, when they searched his house, he had Molotov cocktails.
Right.
And it feels like earlier in the spring, there was somebody in Utah County who was arrested. And when they, for threatening a public building maybe, and when they opened his trunk, he had explosive devices with shrapnel in them.
Right.
So
and
got some stuff going on.
Right. I mean, there's, in this day and age, there's so much reason to be fearful of things like that. And, I was just in the court one day, and a judge came by and she said, is that briefcase yours? And there was one of those metal briefcases on the floor, and everybody was gone. And so I'm like, no. We call security, and the security guard was great, but he walked over and just picked it up and said, I'm going to see what's in this. And I'm like, no. But luckily everything worked out okay. But you kind of get nervous about that kind of stuff when you see it, and you have to take things seriously.
Yeah. So when we come back after the break, President Trump, and we talked about this earlier in the show, but he linked autism to the use of acetaminophen in pregnancy, which is the generic name for Tylenol. He also proposed a treatment that's more commonly used to treat side effects from cancer treatments. And we're going to have a doctor join us next to talk about what we know specifically with autism and what we don't know about autism. Stay with us on KSL News Radio. You can stream us on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott, KSL's top local story this hour. We now know who will be speaking at the Turning Point USA event in Utah next week.
Turning Point USA resumed their American Comeback Tour in Minnesota yesterday, and in 1 week from now, they will be heading to Utah State University. The group is having guest speakers and panelists fill in at each stop of the tour, and when they come to Logan, we've learned that the panel will include Utah Senator Mike Lee, Governor Spencer Cox, former Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz, and Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs. The COO of Turning Point Action tells the Deseret News the event will be held indoors, and it will focus on where Utah goes from here and how we can heal from Charlie Kirk's death. This is the only stop the tour has planned in Utah. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The president spoke for nearly an hour today at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. During his speech, President Trump attacked other countries' border and climate policies and called out the malfunctioning escalator at the UN complex a few times.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen.
The president's speech was the longest given before the UN General Assembly in history. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 58 points. The S&P is down 30 points. And coming up, sunny skies. Case of weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hi, Utah families. We all would do anything we could to boost our children's confidence and set them up for success. And Smile Zemi can help. Smile Zemi is the personalized learning tablet designed for students from kindergarten through 5th grade. Smile Zemi adapts to your child's level and learning style, delivering engaging lessons anytime, anywhere. Each lesson offers just right challenges, not too easy, not too hard, keeping learning fresh, motivating, and confidence building. Visit SmileZemi.com to learn more.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Jordan Camper at 7000 South State, located right in the middle of Salt Lake Valley in Midvale. Family owned for generations, Utah's longest truck top and truck accessory shop. Let's talk about tonneau covers. You love your truck and want your truck bed to be protected and covered and look nice, while still being able to use your truck bed area for your work needs, recreation, and hauling. Jordan Camper has a full range of tonneau covers, all the major brands with full warranties. From stylish one-piece models, soft and firm folding covers, to roll-up and snap options. We've got you covered. Tonneau covered, that is, at Jordan Camper, 7000 South State in Midvale. Come on in or give us a call, 801-255-1512. Our experienced staff can answer your questions and install it for you. Information at jordancamper.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, no delays anywhere across the Wasatch Front, and even better news, I haven't heard of any accidents on city streets or the major freeways. So the only thing that you may have to contend with are those orange barrels that are pretty much everywhere on any street you want to go to. Sometimes it causes some backup and congestion on SR 36 in Tooele County. That is free and clear at the moment, and no problems going through Parley's Canyon or eastbound I-80 over to the US 40 junction. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
High 74 today with clear sunny skies. After that, we see highs in the low to mid 80s heading into the weekend. Right now it's 66 in Fair. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We talked earlier in the show about the Trump administration addressing the use of Tylenol, especially the drug that makes up Tylenol, acetaminophen, and its association with autism in newborns for mothers who take that while they're pregnant, and also another drug, leucovorin, which has some apparent promising effects to help people. Right, who knows? But, as we talked about that, it just seemed so bizarre. We talked to Lois Collins earlier that the president was doing this and almost sounding medical. We thought it would be better if we got somebody that actually had some
medical background
letters after her name, and to tell us about the science and what's behind this, and what is the research behind all of this.
So we have with us Dr. Debbie Bilder. She's a Hopkins Presidential Endowed Chair in Autism Research and professor in the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Utah. And Dr. Bilder, welcome to our show, first of all.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me to join you two.
I want to start with a question. that is less about the research and more about the families. I want to know, just right off the bat, what is a message you would like to share with families who are either scared or they're confused, or maybe they even feel guilty about this right now?
I'm so glad that you switched it right to what's really most important, which are these families and these affected individuals. Acetaminophen, or what most of us refer to as Tylenol, does not cause autism. There is no need for any type of regret or worry that, as a mom, you may have contributed to a condition your child has just because you took Tylenol, or as also called acetaminophen. It does not cause autism.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I'm a mom of children with disabilities, and as a mother, I do want to know if there's anything, that I can do to help, but the extra layer of guilt is just not helpful.
Holly, it truly is. And over the years, various different issues pop up that, suggest, a link to autism. And that's why it's so important for this type of information to come from our scientists and those who have looked very thoroughly at this question. So I'm glad that you're asking for clarification on this particular topic.
And what is the science behind this? I mean, what logic would there have been for the administration to make this statement?
Well, there are studies that suggest that there's a link between Tylenol. And there are studies that don't. And so that's why when you look at this particular question, you've really got to ask yourself, if someone found some link between moms taking Tylenol during pregnancy and their child having autism, you've really got to ask yourself, well, is it the Tylenol they took, or is it because there are reasons why people take Tylenol that are actually where this link is probably coming from? So pregnant moms use Tylenol when they experience pain or fever because it has been proven safe for decades for use in pregnancy, and there is no safer alternative to address these conditions, which aren't healthy in their own right. And we know that conditions that cause pain and fever are linked to autism, like infections and inflammation. And we know that pregnancy complications, such as low birth weight, prematurity, medical conditions that mothers may experience, like diabetes or high blood pressure, are also linked to autism. And so it's just important that people recognize Tylenol use does not occur in a vacuum. And if a study finds a link between Tylenol use and autism, it's because the investigators were unable to account for these other conditions that led to Tylenol's use to begin with, and that we know, do have a link to autism.
We talked a little bit earlier about correlation does not equal causation. I'm wondering if you can talk to us a little bit about how determining a cause for autism is complex. There's not a single answer, right?
There isn't. And even as I bring up these other issues that we know are linked, it's still not cause and effect. We don't have studies that prove that something, like this causes autism. And in fact, we know that autism runs in families. It has a clear familial predisposition, and there's a lot of genes that have been linked to autism. But when it really comes down to it, these are, large association studies. What their role is in science is to allow investigators like myself to recognize, gosh, there's some type of linkage. I'm not sure where the cause is, where the effect, or where they're just marching together related to another issue. And that's why scientists then go into much more in-depth investigations of potential relationships to understand potential for cause and effect. But this particular
reason they are.
Yeah, but this particular discussion, and I think the administration is referencing a recent review paper that came out that looked at various different studies, and they're using that to base this discussion recommendation on. And that review paper was not a new study. It was simply just looking at a lot of other studies, and the tools they use to review these various different studies are not what we would typically do in science when we're addressing this kind of question.
Dr. Bilder, historically, why and under what circumstances have doctors been suggesting Tylenol or acetaminophen over other pain medications such as aspirin and ibuprofen?
Because Tylenol has been proven to be safe in pregnancy, and there is no safer alternative. And so, many women will use Tylenol when pain occurs, when fever occurs during pregnancy to address those issues. Those issues themselves can have their own, potential negative effect. And so it's appropriate under the guidance of their doctor to use medicine that would be recommended like this. So I'm not surprised that someone's looked at this question. What's important, though, is that this question is looked at very systematically to account for all of these other issues that march along and could give the impression that there's some type of relationship when really that's not where the relationship truly is. It's the underlying condition for which it's being used.
So we know that there has been an increase in diagnoses with kids on the spectrum, the autism spectrum. We also know that there's a higher rate in the Rocky Mountain area than in some other places of the country. Can you talk to us just a little bit about an increase in diagnoses?
So I like the way you put that, Holly, because that's really what we've been measuring. We've been measuring the diagnoses that we've identified with autism, and there truly has been an increase in the likelihood that kids are recognized with autism, in a very large part with our understanding of the condition itself. There has been a lot of work done to improve our understanding, our awareness of autism among providers, among families, among teachers, so that when a child has, symptoms or indicators that they may have autism, these kids or these adults go to get evaluated. And so what we're measuring, so this is a measured increase. As far as the relationship, as far as the incidence here in Utah compared to other parts of the country, back in the late 2000s, we did have the highest measured rate, but other sites have really exceeded where we're at, and we're really pretty much in the middle of the other sites that are part of the network we are in to compare our rates with other locations in the U.S.
Dr. Bilder, we have about less than a minute left, but what can you tell our listeners about the promise or parent, if you're a parent of a child with autism, what can you tell them about this leucovorin?
Oh, it doesn't have FDA indication. There's some small studies that suggest it can be helpful, but it really is not ready for prime time. And I look forward to seeing just more systematic ways of investigating this to understand whether this really can make a difference for people affected by autism.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We've been speaking with Dr. Debbie Bilder. She's an autism researcher and professor in the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Utah. When we come back, I want to talk to you about NASA, oh my gosh. NASA astronauts, because they just announced their new class. They chose 10 new astronauts out of more than 8,000 applicants. When we come back.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
September means it's time for Any Hour Services free furnace sale. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and as summer comes to a close and falls right around the corner, the weather gets, well, perfect. And when the weather's perfect, people need a little extra incentive to replace their heating and cooling system. That's where Any Hour Services free furnace sale comes in. For the month of September, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. And there's no catch. There's no raising the price on the air conditioner first. There's no making you buy the most expensive air conditioner to qualify. There's none of that. There's just a desire to keep our technicians working while the weather's mild and a genuine appreciation of you for helping us keep them busy. So if you've been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner and want to know exactly how much you can save during our free furnace sale, call Any Hour Services today and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Newmont College of Computer Science has been a key part of downtown Salt Lake City for over 2 decades, offering innovative, industry-influenced degrees that focus on cutting-edge technology. Vice President Mo Reeder joins us with more.
At Newmont College, we focus on preparing students for careers in technology. Our accredited programs allow students to earn bachelor degrees in software engineering, game development, applied AI, data engineering, and cybersecurity in just 3 years. We also offer a master's in artificial intelligence and a 21-week cybersecurity certificate. What makes Newmont unique is how closely we work with industry. Through externships, senior students contribute part-time to real-world projects, giving employers fresh talent and innovative ideas. The results speak for themselves. A Georgetown University study ranked Newmont as the nation's best return on investment in computer science. Graduates launch their careers with confidence, earning an average starting salary of around $77,000. We welcome you to come visit us on campus to see how Newmont is shaping Utah's tech future. Come take a tour, 143 South Main Street in Salt Lake City, or visit our website today at newmont.edu.
Newmont College of Computer Science is helping shape Utah's future by preparing skilled tech professionals. Through accelerated programs and industry partnerships, graduates enter the workforce ready to meet the state's growing technology needs and strengthen its economy. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business. Matthew.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just need you to listen to me.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me. And believe it or not, they really do make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for talking and preparing me for what's ahead.
Thanks, Mom, for never giving up and always being my biggest fan.
Thank you for letting me know what you expect, so I can try to meet your expectations.
Thank you for talking.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel you attract people who tend to be compulsive or abusive?
Do you have money problems because of someone else's drinking?
Are you afraid or embarrassed to bring your friends home?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
More than half of all adults have a family history of alcoholism.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
An expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Talk about an elite group. NASA announced its newest astronauts on Monday, 10 scientists, engineers, and test pilots chosen from over 8,000 applicants to help explore the moon and maybe Mars.
That's a wild story.
For the first time, there were more women than men in the incoming astronaut class. Out of 10, 6 were women.
That's awesome. They included a geologist who worked on NASA's Curiosity Mars rover and a SpaceX engineer who has already gone into orbit, flying on the private spacecraft last year.
Yeah, so there was quite a bit of I don't know, there were in the history of NASA, there have only been 370 people selected. I didn't realize it was such a small group. There are currently 41 active astronauts serving in the Corps. So again, and a very elite group, a very small group, and in our history, only 370 people have served in that capacity.
So here's a fun trivia fact, and I won't remember his name, but my dad taught at the French Air Force Academy in southern France, and he did an exchange program, and one of the exchange students went on an American Air Force Academy grad student, became a grad student. He became an astronaut, and he flew multiple missions into space. That was really cool to say, hey, I met that guy when I was a teenager.
Okay, so let's look at some of the qualifications that you have to meet to be an astronaut. and this is a fairly lengthy, so you're going to have to help me with this. Be a U.S. citizen, possess a master's degree in a STEM field, which is engineering, biological
technology.
science. Right,
Yeah.
So, and have at least 2 years of related professional experience after the degree, or at least complete 1,000 hours of pilot in command time in a jet aircraft.
And you have to be able to pass their long duration flight physical. So look, do you remember Utah Senator Jake Garn?
Yes.
Do you remember that he got to go up into at least space, at least a little ways? He was so sick he threw up the whole time.
Right, yeah, but I think that was part of their program. They were sort of monitoring that. He was either a U.S. senator at the time or recently retired, but I think he was in the Senate at the time.
I think he was.
And I think they were.
Anyway, testing how normal people handle the spinning. But look, I need to tell you, it reminds me of this film I saw a couple of years ago, and the film is called A Million Miles Away. It was produced by Amazon Prime, and it was the story of the first Mexican-American astronaut, Jose Hernandez, and he had written an autobiography called Reaching for the Stars. When I watched this movie, it struck me like he applied over and over and over, and every time, until the very last time, he got a rejection letter, and every time he spent the next year saying, okay, well, what part can I make better? What can I do to improve my chances? He became an expert diver. He did something with Russia and uranium that he knew about. He just over and over and over. And he finally got into the program, and he was in the program for quite a while.
Yeah, and it's it kind of ebbs and flows. There are times when we seem to have a lot of flights going on and times where we're not as active. I think that SpaceX or some of those groups are not necessarily flying astronauts, but are flying satellites into space when historically we may have expected some of that through our astronauts. But the idea of going to the moon again seems to be heating up. The idea of exploring potentially Mars is heating up.
That's a lot further away.
Right, yeah, much, much further away. But these are astronauts that, they're young, no doubt. They may be around when we fly our next moon mission or maybe even our next Martian mission.
Maybe. Well, I don't think I'll be here when they do the Mars mission, but we'll see.
And there's the training. I'd really like to know what this NASA long duration flight astronaut physical is.
Part of it, this is what I gathered from the movie. Part of it involves underwater stuff, being able to hold your breath, being able to not throw up when you're being spun around like you're in a washing machine. Right. So, we can Google it, but it's some of those things where it's like, I would not qualify. Oh, you can't be claustrophobic either. So I'm totally out, right?
That would make sense.
I can't even handle the MRI machine.
Yeah. I have vertigo. I'm toast.
See, you're done.
There you go.
We're out. We're also old. So it leads us into some of the fun facts of the day today, actually, which on this day in 1846, the planet Neptune was discovered. So Neptune is our 8th planet. It's classified as an ice giant planet, and it's known for its deep blue color and numerous moons.
And was found, it's our 8th from the sun planet?
The 8th from the sun. Yep.
It's the first one past Jupiter.
No.
I'm losing track of things.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's further than that. Anyway, it's one of the things that's interesting about that, it was the first planet discovered through mathematical predictions rather than direct observation. So somebody was like, I bet there's something there.
Yeah.
And they were able to prove that, in fact, that was correct.
Sometimes they can look and see that there's a blank spot or something going on.
Yeah.
And they can use mathematics to say that's probably created by some other body.
Yeah.
In that case, Neptune. Interesting.
It has 16 moons.
It's big. I think it's much bigger
Isn't
than
that interesting?
Earth.
Yeah. So interesting. It's very blue if you see some of the pictures. So that was one of the fun facts of the day. We've got a couple of others. So I'm going to recommend to you that you go to Matt Johnson's social media, at least on Facebook. So Matt Johnson is KSL News meteorologist. He has a post today about where leaves are in peak form right now in Utah, and there's some that are still coming up, but there's some that are peak right now.
Tell us.
Well, some of them include down in American Fork Canyon, Cascade Springs, which is up there, and Kiev Peak, which is up Provo Canyon. There's a couple that are peak leaves right now. If you look at the Alpine Loop as a whole, it's still kind of patchy, but it's not peak yet. But some of those specific peaks, if you go up to the top. Also, Fish Lake is near the peak the Monte Cristo Highway near the peak.
Near my house, yeah.
Mirror Lake Highway near peak also. And then, like I said, Cascade Springs, but also Wasatch Mountain State Park.
So it sounds like
peak.
the higher elevations.
Elevations.
Northerly higher elevations, and they'll start moving down.
Yeah, that's right.
As we get closer and closer to.
Yep.
But what was it? Yesterday was first day of fall. So
officially, yep. So that was one fun fact I did want to share with our listeners is that follow Matt Johnson on social media, and he will tell you where to go see the peak leaves. Okay, on this day.
Our timing was good because we did go up in that area. Sorry, I cut you off.
On Saturday.
Last weekend and saw that. So
I'm afraid if I don't get up in the next couple of days, I'm going to miss them completely because I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. Okay, on this day also in 1838, so we're going backwards just a little bit, Victoria Woodhull was born. She became the first female candidate for U.S. president in 1872.
Never heard of her.
I know, right? And you haven't heard of her party either, I bet, because it was the Equal Rights Party.
Ooh, yeah. Probably
so,
not.
1872 was more, it was like almost 50 years before the 19th Amendment was passed. With her sister, though, Tennessee Woodhull, they became the first female members of the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh,
so
wow.
they were very, very
they were
progressive.
Legit, right?
Yeah,
they were legit candidates. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, they really were. And then there's another female, a couple of women born on this day that are pretty awesome. So 1863, Mary Church Terrell was born. She was a very, very gifted speaker. She became the first president of the the National Association of Colored Women, so NACW. And one of the first African-American women to earn a college degree. She became a national activist for civil rights and suffrage, and she was the first black woman in the United States to be appointed to a school board of a major city.
Wow.
She served in the District of Columbia until 1906.
And that was
way before her time.
Yeah, on this day in...
She was born on this day in 1863.
1863,
yep.
Cool.
Yep, and then one more in 1933. So when you think of Saudi Arabia, what do you think of?
Oil.
That's what I think of.
Yes.
But it was on this day in 1933 that Standard Oil geologists actually arrived in Saudi Arabia after the discovery of a massive oil field in Ghawar. So it's not even been 100 years, but that's that's how I identify that area of the world. And I have a son-in-law who's Saudi Arabian. I don't even know if he knows that fun fact.
Yeah, and the world changed after all that. I mean, of course, we were already entrenched in it here in the United States, but yeah, that's what
a massive oil field.
And the money that came from that in that region of the country has just been astronomical. Well, I really think we learned a lot about this whole medical statement that our president gave with respect to this acetaminophen, and I think hopefully our listeners will do their own studies and talk to their own doctor and make their own decisions. And I appreciate what the administration is trying to do as well, and that is educate people. But I think education includes.
I have a super, super quick texting comment about Jake Garn, Senator Jake Garn. This person says, I'm in my 50s now, but I wrote a letter to him when I was 11. He wrote back. He was a great man.
Yeah, he really was. Utah could be using the 2034 Olympics in a way to improve or fix some of the issues the state is facing. Midday with Maria Chaleos is up next with more on that story and all of today's news. Stay with us on KSL News Radio.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
I felt an immense amount of peace when I got here. I suffer from psychotic features, done a lot of time incarcerated, prison, jail, psych units.